Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. We are live on this Saturday morning. It is August. I had a glance to check. I had to make sure, because when you get to be my age, you don't always exactly remember what day of the year it is, but it is August 22nd, 2020. And this is the one thing I won't forget. We are doing the 760th iteration of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream, featuring me, yours truly, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, and of course, all the folks who have been clapping and woohooing and laughing. Listen, here they are. Our best fan, our best viewer and listener. And of course, all of you tuning in as you do every week for humor and talk and music and all sorts of different kind of eclectic stuff that we do in the Daverhood. We also have our potatoes. Papito should be a little more centered so that we see them all. And yes, it's been another amazing week in and out of the Daverhood. Let me tell you, first of all, what's been going to be on the show, and then we'll do our usual rambling, not with gambling, but with me. So first of all, we'll do some of our usual stuff on the show. We've got our Inside Broadway segment, and that'll be happening about, I think within the first hour we'll do that. There isn't a lot of Broadway news right now, as you can imagine. So there's, as it is every week, there's unfortunate news. There's people who have been on Broadway or off Broadway who have passed away very recently, and we say a farewell to them. But we also have some hopeful Broadway-related news, and we'll do that in our Inside Broadway segment. Also, we have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. This is where I have gone, well, my wife and I both lived in northern Colorado for many months, and I started writing a poem about all these different places in Colorado. Well, a poem each, not one giant poem about all. So I read one of these poems every week in our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Also, we will have, if we have time today, I don't know if we will, we ran out of time last week, but when I left a job that I've been working for full-time for about a year, one of the very nice people that I worked with, she told me some very nice things and was very encouraging and was also kind of an extremely religious person. And one of the things that she wanted to leave me with, this is absolutely true, is exactly the kind of thing that you used to find on subway seats and in telephone booths in New York. Yes, she gave me a best friend booklet all about how what Jesus can do for your life. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rabbi Saul, may or may not tackle best friend, because I assume she realized I was not of the Christian faith. My name is kind of a giveaway, Lefkowitz. I mean, you might as well just call me Leftechochetage Jewistine, but Lefkowitz is close enough. And yet, I think Rabbi Saul will have something to say as we page through this in story time on Dave's Gone By. And also, we have the rematch happening. This is what's gonna happen. Look at it, it's like a rugby match. Last week, in our first time ever, we turned our Today Yesterday quiz into a competition. And so we had my old friend, she hates when I call her this, my longtime veteran friend, I should say that, veteran friend, theater critic Leslie.
My good friend.
My good friend, well, it's different from like someone who's fairly recent. Like friendy is more of like a good friend to us.
You know what you do? They used to do this in Girl Scouts. They'd say, make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. She's your golden friend.
Sure, my gold, yeah, but golden is too close to like golden oldie. Yeah, so no, we don't want to go there. And remember when I screwed up last week and I said that Leslie, when I first met her, was so glamorous. Which
you have this knack of opening your mouth and sticking your feet in.
This is why I can never get women.
You're like, who in the family shouldn't I talk about this horrible medical problem? And they're right in front of you.
Yeah, I've done that. I have done that.
Everybody in the family has a horror face.
So I do things like this. And so last week, in trying to be very complimentary and truthful, I said that Leslie, she was a director. I think she was an actress for a certain period of her career. And now she has been a theater critic for many years. But I said, oh, she was quite lovely and glamorous when I met her. Without even thinking that, okay, it's 30 years later and so forth. But she's still lovely and glamorous. She's Leslie Hoban Blake. And she,
Not only that,
yeah.
she's a kick-ass contender.
Oh, she beat.
Like, let me tell you, not only that,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, she beat the Shoobs, which are like, the Shoobs are like the biggest.
The Shoob is on the other foot, ladies and gentlemen. Cynthia and Jeff, well, they're actually the Kirsches. It's Cynthia Shoob Kirsch and her husband,
like,
Jeff Kirsch.
They were like AT&T. They were the monopoly on the quiz, and then Leslie just came in and slayed. She just like.
Well, yeah. Whoa! Don't start making a rival. Well, it's kind of a rival.
She did. She came in and she's like, I don't know about this stuff, and she got all the questions.
Yeah, Leslie rocked.
She has a very good quiz.
Yeah, today, yesterday, and she also has a great camera and verbal bearing about her because she's been on video for so long. And
she's with Charlie, right, on the Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
That's right. I should mention that Leslie Blake and I'm sorry, Leslie Hoban Blake. Got to put the middle name in there. Leslie Hoban Blake and Charlie Gross have been co-hosting Two on the Aisle on Manhattan Neighborhood Network and Manhattan Cable TV for many years now. Charlie used to do it with our other friend, Jeff Goodman. I'm sorry, what?
Now they do
well,
they do podcasts, right?
During COVID, yeah, they're starting a new podcast because there's no theater to review at the moment.
I think they do the best of some of their shows or something. She was saying.
Well, but they've been posting their episodes on YouTube, which is a great thing. It's about, I'm saying it's about time. They've been doing it for a couple of years now, but they should have been doing it for ages because otherwise it was still that old-fashioned TV thing where you had to either watch it when it was happening on Manhattan Neighborhood Network TV, or you could live stream it on mnn.org, but it's not like you could go back and watch older episodes. It was still, you had to go to at that appointed time, like appointment television. And of course, Two on the Aisle was certainly worth it. But how much better at your convenience now, go on YouTube, look for Leslie Hoban Blake, Charlie Gross doing Two on the Aisle, or we'll ask her, I guess, this week how their podcast. I know, I'm going to ask her. Sorry, Liz, I just don't recall what it was. She mentioned it last week, but we'll ask her. And we will also talk to our friends, Cynthia Shoob Kirsch and Jeffrey Kirsch, who have been playing our trivia quiz called Today, Yesterday for many months and just being like a one-on-one. I do the questions and they would type back the answers, and everybody watching and playing at home would kind of try and get the answers before them without cheating, without Googling. And they were the undefeated champions. And now, last week, Leslie Hoban Blake came out of nowhere and just, she became the Ken Jennings of Today, Yesterday.
What's the new guy, the one with the creepy eyes on Jeopardy?
The guy,
the gambler, he was like
the guy who the Mormon who doesn't move his face when he laughs and talks and smiles. I forget what his name is. Yeah, he scares me. Yeah, no. Ken, everybody loves Ken Jennings. Ken Jennings was the bomb. He's the man. And so we don't know if Leslie Hoban Blake will be the woman. So far, she's won one of the competitions, but we will have the the 6.5 day awaited rematch between Blake and the Shoob Kirsches in our Today, Yesterday quiz for August 22nd, 2020. So that's just kindling for the fire that is this program this week. That's just the base upon which we're building this edifice. And hopefully it won't be an edifice wreck. Yeah. All right. So the big thing is, and I'm so very thrilled and excited about this, that many years ago, I think really more than 20 years ago now, I went to, of all places, Romania. Your noises are so spot on today, man. That's Joyce helping with the sound effects. But I'm part of the thank you. In fact, I just got my renewal card this week. I'm part of the International Association of Theater Critics. So if I decide during COVID to jet down to Africa somewhere, I can, and I can see some theater there. As part of that, they sometimes have conferences once or twice a year in different parts of the world. And we have the option of going there, and sometimes they put us up, and we pay a little fee, and you get to go to the conference and learn about theater in other parts of the world and also see theater there. So we, and a couple of theater critics from around the world, and I went down to the theater festival in Sibiu, or is it Sibiel? I always confuse the two of them, but it's either Sibiu or Sibiel. They're next to each other in Romania, which is several miles from Bucharest. And they have had a theater festival there for many, many years. So I get down there, right? And I haven't traveled that much in my life at that point. This is going back, I didn't travel at all really in my 20s. In my 30s, I just started, and it was almost all domestic. And it wasn't until 30s and 40s that I started going to Europe and stuff. But here I am in like Romania, one of these countries that was not very nice to Jews in the 1940s. Yeah. One of those countries that Jews have tried to get out of for 100, 200 years. And suddenly, it's like when I was in Russia years ago, doing deals to get Donald Trump reelected. No, you know, and I'm in this country that my people have been not happily living there. So, but a fine time, and I loved going to the theater festival. I'll probably talk with our guest about that, because one of their main hall in this festival building was so old and so overpacked that we honestly heard the balcony creaking. And we thought that all the people watching the show above us, there were so many, were literally just going to make the balcony come down, and there's going to be an enormous tragedy. Oh, we were watching the show. Didn't happen. I was not part of some kind of Romanian history lesson there. But among the people who were in the critics group visiting Romania for this festival were a veteran English theater critic named Ian Herbert, who used to do the equivalent of books that aren't even being done anymore. I used to do or help August Guernsey with the best plays books back in America. And Ian was doing a theater on record, pardon me. Ian was doing a theater on record book out in the UK. And he was doing that for a bunch of years. So that was his thing. And he's a very jovial, boisterous, voluble, hail, jolly, well-met. If he were in a Shakespeare play, he would be Falstaff. Even, I think probably back then when I was in Romania, he was younger than I am right now. But that was very Ian Herbert. That was him. Now, and they got another English critic to kind of chauffeur and keep the rest of us international critics, thank you, together and happy. And that fella was a fellow named Ian Wardle. Or sorry, Irving Wardle. How can I forget, like, he's not Jewish, but a non-Jewish fellow named Irving Wardle, W-A-R-D-L-E. And Irving was kind of the opposite of Ian. Irving was very reserved, dry sense of humor, very laid back, quite quiet, but very, very friendly, and very, very smart too. And it was great to hang with both of them. They're very, very yin-yang, and got along great. They got along great. We had a wonderful time in Romania. And I got into my head, what happened was a few weeks ago, I found the article that I wrote about the Romanian conference for the American Theater Critics Association Journal. I belonged to them for 30 years. What was that?
Joins us at 11?
10. Irving joins us at 10. So, and the trivia quiz is at 11. So Irving, so I found this article that I had written all these years ago. And I enjoyed reading it again, you know, because I like most of my work. And I retyped it up. I posted it on my archive site of my writings, which is not davesgoneby.org. That's davelefkowitz.org, I believe. Just go there and you can read hundreds of my theater reviews, my plays, my short screenplays. I'm loading more and more as I can, as I have the time. And so I put that in there, and reading it again, it reminded me what a fabulous time Romania, of all places, was. And it reminded me of Ian, who's still, I believe, alive and well. And I thought, oh my gosh, Irving, I hope he's alive and well. I hope Irving's okay. Let me see if he's around. Let me see if I can contact him still. And so I put in a feeler to him, and lo and behold, Irving is 91 years old. And he still talks better than I do on a Saturday morning. And Irving, obviously, he's not reviewing much live theater right now, but just because of COVID, I think he's apparently, we'll find out, in great shape, because we're going to Zoom with this veteran theater critic. And I can see some of you folks thinking, oh, okay, a theater critic, whoopsie doopsie, so what's so special about him? What's so special about this guy was that he was reviewing theater for the major newspapers in London for, throughout like the 60s and 70s. He was one of the tastemakers in terms of what we now consider modern classic theater. He was not only a friend of Harold Pinter, but he's the guy who looked at plays by Pinter like The Birthday Party and The Caretaker, and I guess Betrayal too, and called them the comedy of menace. He didn't make up that phrase. He got that phrase from the title of a play, but it worked perfectly to describe what Pinter was doing in a lot of his greatest works. The Hot House, the comedy of menace. Ooh. And Irving was like, he hit it spot on. And everybody credits him now as the guy who defined Harold Pinter's work in a nutshell. And that was Irving Wardle. He was also mentored, his editor, as it were, in one of the papers that he worked with, Sir Kenneth Tynan, which is
Sir Kensington?
Oh, no. We'll catch up with Sir Kensington later. No, Sir Kenneth Tynan.
Do you want your coffee?
Around, no. I just need this to wet my whistle.
You want something else?
What I need to do is gargle. Here we go. It's gargle time.
Want your toothbrush?
Nah, later. Thanks for that, though. So, and we actually knew somebody in common, a very, very, I want to say controversial, yes, a controversial-ish, and certainly loved and hated critic named Charles Marowitz, who actually wrote for a publication that I was working on. And I enjoyed corresponding with and talking with Charles Marowitz back in the day. He's gone now, but Irving, I'm sure, has some stories about him because he made friends and enemies wherever he went, and he said what he said, period. And the interesting thing is that Irving, as laid back and quiet as he has seemed to be, he wrote what he wrote. And what he wrote pissed off both Arthur Miller and Tennessee Williams. And they had a little bit of feud going up here. I mean, so yeah, when we talk with Irving Wardle, it's not just some little, and I don't disparage this, but some local critic writing for a penny saver about a community thing. No, this is a major English theater dude with years of history behind him. Irving Wardle, fingers crossed, will be with us in the Daverhood in about 40 minutes from now, talking about, my gosh, his life, his work, where theater is going in summer of 2020, what the hell the future will or might hold. All of that on Dave's Gone By. Now, before we actually play our opening theme, I'm wondering, do we have people who tuned in? Who's watching the show?
We have, hold on, going slow.
Sure.
It won't let me see the people now.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's so weird.
Let me see if I can get them on my Facebook page.
That is so weird. Okay, we have David.
Well, yes,
James.
me. James.
Kerr.
Kerr?
P-E-R, Kerr.
Kerr.
Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
Jack.
Kerr is a cool cat. Jack, yeah. Melissa.
And 3 or 4 other people, and I can just say welcome friends. I can't see them in the watch party.
Well, certainly welcome to our friends in the Daverhood, all of you. It's great to see you. It's great that well, I can't see you, but I'm assuming that you can see me and hear me doing the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programio. I see Jeffrey, also not Jeff, cousin Jeff, but our swanky friend of the Daverhood, Jeffrey Tozer, has tuned in. So welcome to him. I hope that he is doing great. Oh, it's all right. It's all right. Just know that we appreciate your watching, and we appreciate your sitting through our usual intro to the program, which goes a little something like this.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. There goes the neighborhood. And there was much rejoicing.
Didn't your meds kick in yet?
We got David Lefker this year. He's a Long Island arts guy. He's got his own radio show.
I want you all to really enjoy a wonderful program done by a fine artist.
A glorious thing of unparalleled beauty.
Dave's Gone By. Dave is one of my very favorite broadcasters, so keep on listening to Mr. Dave.
Pop that down before we have copyright trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, you're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programio of the stream live on this Saturday, August 22nd, 2020, our 760th episode that we are calling Wardle We Do, okay? Because our guest is Irving Wardle in the Daverhood. Wardle We Do, what we will do is talk with him and do our usual stuff. Greeley Crimes Old Times. I forgot to mention that we're doing that as well. So it's going to be a show packed with jam, my friends, a jam-packed production. So before we get to any of that, this is the Shoot the Breeze portion of the episode. How you doing, babe? What's new?
I don't know why I can't see that. A lot of people are trying, I can't see them, but welcome to Kyle and Larry before we can't see it.
Oh, well, welcome to Kyle and Larry before. And yeah, you mentioned a couple of names before.
There were like at least 10, 15 people in there. I don't see it.
Well, we certainly welcome you, even though we can't currently see you. So here's a couple of things I want to talk about this week before we get, a couple of things I want to talk about. So I mentioned that I started a new,
Remember we discussed public and private?
oh yeah, I'm not going to say, I'm not even going to say where. I can tell the kind of place that I'm working in. And certainly I mentioned it isn't even about people, because, you know, I'm a performer. I'm an egotistical entertainer. I don't care about people. I care about me. And that's what these 3 hours are about on Saturday mornings. So I leave the old job, you know, I go for this new job this week. And what's kind of marvelous about, I'll just get myself into it. Here we go. So we're in a building that years ago was used as a school or part of a bigger school district. And so this building has about 5 big rooms in it. It's still a single level edifice, and not an edifice wreck, because I can make jokes twice in the same show because it's my show. Thank you, Potato. So it's oddly enough, on my first, even before my first day, when I met my boss.
Another Fred joined.
My boss gave me a tour. Hello, Fred. My boss gave me a tour, and one of the things that this person concentrated on was saying, we have a lot of bathrooms in this building. And I'm like, I don't know why this person was specifically telling me this a lot. It was not telling me about the whole structure of the organization, not telling me about other things going on and where the supplies were. No, it is more like, okay, there's a bathroom in this room. Oh, there's another bathroom in this room. And we have a third bathroom here. And and point is, there aren't classes going on there anymore. So there's, at a given time at the moment during the pandemic, there's maybe 6 to 10 people working in the entire building at any given time. You want to talk about social distancing, you could put each of us in one room, and we would each, fantastically enough, have our own bathroom. And I don't know why, but this person spent a lot of time telling about where the bathrooms. I don't know if this person knows me and knows my show and knows the Miracle of Long John's and realizes that I am sort of bathroom philic and pee and poo philic, and I talk about it, and I laugh about it, and joke about it, and that I've never grown past the age of 3, or if this person does this for everybody. Everybody who comes in the building, it's the bathroom tour. And one of the fun things about it is that 2 of the bathrooms are built for children. So if you go into them and you don't use the quote unquote grown-up bathroom, it's Billy Barty land. The toilets are down here. The sink is down here.
Does it make you feel like
It makes me feel like a giant.
I was gonna say with John Gulliver and the Lilliputians?
I feel like John Cleese striding around in that bathroom. So I thought, you know what? Yesterday, I finally got my project done. I actually had a moment to breathe because it's a crazy week. And I was also thrown in the deep end, trying to remember 1,000 things at once and maybe remembering 200 of them. And then having to go, to text my boss and say, is this what I do? And was like, no, you do this. And I just felt relentlessly like a moron all week long, right? And, but then on Friday, I got the major stuff done, quiet day, for the second half of the day. And I'm gonna be lazy-ish. Instead of getting up and going to the other room to use its bathroom, I think I'll use the bathroom in our room, because I'm that way. I like to try things. I'm gonna use the bathroom that's really closest to where I'm working. And I go in and I didn't register until I was already standing over it that this was one of the children's bathrooms. And I'm like, do I really want to use, I'll try not to make a mess. It was a number 1, just to be clear here. And I'm just gonna stand over this thing, lift and do my thing. I don't care that it's a children's toilet. I'm closer to it than most people. And I do wonderful flying, I flush. Oh, and one of the other bathrooms, this is honest to God true, in days when we're supposed to be conserving water and we're worrying about the whole state of the world, one of the bathrooms that we have has a sign up and it says, please flush twice. And it doesn't even say like when you kind of need to. When you leave something that really has to be pushed out into the, I don't know, Long Island Sound or something. No, it's just please flush twice, no matter what you do. And so you just stand there and you wash your hands and you take your foot and you flush again. This was a flush once toilet though. So I was very happy about that. But apparently water usage isn't an issue in this place because when I finish doing what I have to do, good public servant that I am, I go to wash my hands. So I lean down to use the child's sink and forget the COVID thing. At least in my previous job, they put in a sink in the men's room where you could wave your hand, put your hands under the faucet and not touch any of the fixtures, which is a really good idea in a pandemic. Here it's just, no, there's not a lot of people using it anyway. So you just go blomp on the facility, the water comes out. I wash my hands and I'm like, okay, great, fabulous, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me get back to my desk. Let me get back to setting things up. And then, as I'm turning to leave the bathroom, the water's still going. And I'm like, oh, okay, stop. So you try to do that magic thing where you want to be Copperfield, cease. And the water's going. The water's just it's, as I said, it's one of those things you push down on and stays and runs for a few seconds. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, it's a children's bathroom. Maybe around COVID time or whenever they fixed it so that it runs a long time so that critics, so that children getting into their heads.
David, what's the term that Irving Wardle used?
Oh, a comedy of menace. So that children go there and they're there long enough. They don't just run their hands under for a second and run out and say, wash my hands. They do the happy birthday twice song, right? So I'm thinking, okay, wow, they fixed this sink so that it runs a good half a minute. The children get their hands washed, fine. And then, but I'm gonna stay in that room just to make sure that the water stops running from the sink. And it doesn't. And now it keeps running and running. And I'm like, I go back to the sink and now I'm touching it everywhere. Now in pandemic, I'm pushing up on it because I'm thinking maybe it's stuck down. I'm turning it, I'm twisting it. And this is, of course, making it keep running and running. And now I'm thinking, not only do I have to put in a ticket for service on this facility, on this bathroom, but I've done so many things. I didn't do anything really wrong, but I made so many mistakes and I forgot so many things that I had to ask once or twice over again during the course of the week. That isn't it wonderful that the crowning achievement, the final jewel of my very first week on a new job, when I'm trying to impress people, is saying, yeah, you know, that sink that's been there that nobody else has seemed to have a problem with, or that you all knew not to use because you used the grown-up one right across the hall. I broke it and don't know how, don't know why, but the water's gonna, and of course it's a Friday afternoon. So it's not really, I think that they come in to clean it after we leave later in the day. So somebody would have been there no matter what.
Theater of Menace, right?
Later on, Comedy of Menace.
Uh-oh.
So it's the last thing I want to do. But I've got to do it. I can't just leave a faucet running and running. I also think I'll be there probably till 4 o'clock because I can't leave the building with something like that going on. So I go back to my desk and I'm thinking about making a ticket out and calling for the help people. And I'm like, you know what? Let me, just in case. So I've been at my desk for about 2 minutes now, calling up the thing, starting to write the ticket. Let me just go back and make sure. And God smiled on me for the first time that week and said, no, Dave, I'm not going to torture you anymore. The water, it was like Moses. When Moses lifted the thing, the water stopped. And I go into the bathroom and I'm like, and I think I tiptoed out of there just to make sure that I didn't cause any more water to run. And I was like, okay.
Did you make any pee-pee in your pants?
I was not that nervous. I just, thank goodness this happened after I had done the number one. And I flipped off the lights and I closed the door and it's like, I am not going into that room again, ever in my life. Right. And I also understood why there was a requisition on that room to switch the fixtures to grown-up fixtures. So when they do that, they'll actually fix the whole thing anyway. But that was my week. That's because when you're 56 years old, which I am, and you start to try and learn new things on the go while they're happening, you can take notes, but your notes are a complete jumble because you're also trying to stay like in what you're doing, physically doing it while you're doing it. And then you're taking these random notes either by hand or you're typing them up. And then you look back at them the next day and you're like, what the? It's very different from when you're 20 sitting in a classroom and somebody's just lecturing and you're taking the notes that you need. And there's also like a textbook to go along, and really you're just going over in class what's in the textbook anyway. So it's just being hammered home in all these different directions, and you've got something that you can honestly go over. And you're in your 20s, your head's a lot smaller. You don't have to remember quite as much stuff.
When you're older, you can't remember. You don't have the ability for rote memorization. That's very hard.
Oh, it really is. And when you're shown literally like 8 different programs that you have to load up in a day, many of them are part of Google Suite, some are not. Some are other things that have to do with letting people in the building and going through this and chatting with just the staff. And it's like, is the help thing the same as the janitorial custodial thing? And I'm just like, oh my God. It's amazing how someone with my background, someone who has taught university level English, someone who has, and I do have 2 master's degrees to go along with my undergrad degree. I've got fellowship certificates, awards for writing. I'm a pretty smart guy. It's amazing how stupid you can feel when you're trying to learn new stuff.
So I felt the same way. When you start something new, you get imposter syndrome, you get all the things where your identity is reconstructing itself,
Yeah, I'm reconstructing my identity as a moron. It's like, you know, and I'm apologizing to my boss like 20 times a day. It's like, I'm new to this. I will get
No, no,
this.
but
It will
what-
take a year and a half, but
What
I'll get it.
what you need to say is that, you know, the reason I'm so asking so many questions is because I'm invested in doing this right. I'm not just, you know, doing it quickly. I want to learn it correctly. So I'm asking questions so I can learn.
True.
I mean, I'd much
I
rather
understand.
have a student ask me questions and go off, do something and mess it up.
Yeah, no, I want to do it right, but the problem is if I really wanted to know and do it, I would be asking 20 more questions than I am now. And we just don't have the time for it right now. I would literally, I want somebody to just sit there and be like, okay, now do
But
this.
isn't the
and
person
this.
who's training you out, she's going to come in and help?
Yeah, that didn't help. The person who was actually supposed to be properly training me was on vacation all week. So I'm kind of thrown in and try and do this, get this done, requisition this, and by the way, the person who's really going to show you what to do will be back next week. Right? The things old Dave gets himself into. But I just thought that would be the crowning achievement of my week, to break a fixture in the building that I'm in.
I had that one time. I was at school during the weekend and everybody left dishes in the sink and it was disgusting. So I went to clean it. I turned on the faucet
Yeah.
and the faucet came off, the whole
Oh
handle.
God, yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, below us is an audiology clinic with thousands and maybe millions of dollars of audiology equipment.
Yeah.
So I called the weekend plumber who came, which was great. And he got a large wrench and he yanked the thing off and redid it.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. Who wants to do?
It's upsetting because you're like, you feel like you've done something wrong, but it's like, I cannot control metal. You cannot control the water flow. It's like, it's not us.
I can't even control my bowels. So there you go.
We flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one other work-related item. I didn't even tell Joyce this. This is great. This is that I truly am an idiot, and yet on some level a lucky idiot. Well, first of all, I'm married to Joyce, so you know,
So
not
you're
that
an
dumb.
idiot because you married me.
No, I just gave you a
Okay.
compliment.
So you're calling Leslie like you're giving her a negative compliment. Now you say
I
like,
said I was a
you're-
lucky idiot.
You say you're a lucky idiot because you married me.
There you go.
I don't like it. You're
Yeah.
gonna be a happily divorced idiot. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I'd be out. The only thing keeping us together is hate and the pandemic.
Basically, yes. Basically, yeah. Yeah. I always wonder, I'm always amazed when I wake up in the morning and there isn't a hatchet directly in the middle of my skull. It just astonishes me sometimes. But so old Dave, one thing that I was very happy about that I didn't get to ask during the interview Zoom
One
process.
of the people in the watch party has the cutest.
Oh, yeah.
They have the cutest image of some cute little puppy
Oh,
with the blue ring. It's gorgeous. I don't know who that is, but whoever has that, ask in the watch party, whoever has that gorgeous little dog in a blue and white circle, it's gorgeous.
Well, whoever has a doggy in a blue and white circle is an adorable, beautiful doggy.
I want that. Tell them I want that animal.
Joyce, we're still grieving the loss of our late dog, Oofty Goof. So, you know, Joyce especially has been, I want another dog, I want another dog.
Whoever is that one, I love their puppy. Tell them I love their puppy.
So if you're looking to adopt out that puppy,
I want to just pet him. I'm psychically petting him because he or she is so adorable.
well, so this is the man that my wife married. My wife, who is, by the way, a vegetarian, my wife who is very, very careful about her health and her habits, and has been, you know, really, really careful during the pandemic and in regular times too. Okay, this is the guy she married. So I didn't even ask before I started the gig because it's not something necessary. I was like, well, is there a kitchen? Is there a fridge? Is there a microwave? Because I want to know if I'm going to bring in lunch most days. And we're not really near a lot of restaurants, so I kind of have to bring in lunch. And then they said, oh yeah, not only that, but observant Dave, the kitchen is right behind my desk. And literally, I was there for like half hour one day before I started just to look around, and I didn't notice, oh, by the way, yeah, there's a sink. It's 2 feet from where I am, and the fridge is like 3 feet behind my chair, and then the microwave's on top of it, and there's a cabinet, and there's you know, packets of ketchup. So potatoes are very happy. And so great, fantastic. I'm going to bring in my food. I can put it in the fridge and just go slam it right in the microwave when I have time. Because all week long, I took like 10-minute lunches. Just, don't tell the union that, but just to get through everything. And so I'm like, I go in and I'm very excited, very, very anticipatory, because I saved this for Friday. During the week, for dinner, my wife and I ordered Chinese food one time. And I purposely left over half of my order of spare ribs. And if you are a middle-aged Jewish man, you know that spare ribs have a siren call that almost nothing else in the universe does. And I purposely left them over so that I could have them as my treat, as my reward for getting through the week for Friday lunch, right? And so I did this, popped them, and brought them in. And then I'm looking through the fridge, this small fridge, and I'm like, where the hell's my lunch? What did I do? I have a couple of cheese sticks that I brought in as an emergency, good, but where are the ribs? And so I'm like, and it occurs to me, because nobody stole them, there's nobody there to steal them. What happened? And I realized, oh no. Old Dave, who's trying to remember a million things this week, had left the spare ribs in his knapsack from the day before when I was going to put them in the fridge. So Old Dave cooked, these pork spare ribs, which were really, really good, that we got from the local place. I had them, I think, on Wednesday night, brought them in for Thursday lunch, in fact, or just kept them in the fridge and waited for them. And then I realized I never put them in the fridge. So they had been in my knapsack wherever I took it. So it was in the car sometimes when I shopped. Well, home all day in our room, which is room temperature, that we keep about 67, 68 degrees, back and forth, occasionally in a hot car. And so on. I found them.
Oh, Jesus.
And I opened the bag.
Yeah.
And they're in one of these cool Chinese bags that you get where the insides are like tinfoil.
Letters, do not microwave.
And it says in letters, do not, well, it doesn't say it, but you shouldn't, because it's got like
on there,
foil.
Because somebody probably microwaved the metal bag and blew it up.
So I open the bag up and I smell, because I got to do the smell test. And they smell fine. As a matter of fact, they smell great.
Oh, no.
So the pork, of all things, spare ribs. I'm like, I don't care. This is my Friday.
You wonder why you have a sore throat. You ate like contaminated ribs.
I on Friday afternoon, ribs that had been out of not for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, but for something like 30 something hours. These ribs had been sort of around town, and just sitting there in my bag, marinating in whatever ribs marinate in. And I'm like, I'm hell with it. And I've lived long enough. If it kills me, it kills me. I put them on a plate, I pop them in the microwave, and they were freaking delicious. and as I'm eating them, I'm wondering, are they going to get me sick? Am I going to get trichinosis from having this lunch?
I don't want to hear this. I don't want to know.
This is the man my wife married. The man
I don't want to hear this. Please stop this.
who will choose the momentary magnificence of spare ribs over a lifetime of death.
To the group, please
Do not do this at home.
food out,
True story.
left outside of the FRIDGE.
So that's kind of my week. What's kind of also pretty funny is that the head of the schools in our district sent out a letter yesterday to all staff and to all parents and to the whole district. Sent out this letter just telling us, obviously it's a crazy year. Obviously the world is topsy-turvy. Nothing is ideal right now. There is no ideal of whether it's a hybrid opening, whether it's a full opening, whether it's a completely homeschool opening. Nobody's going to be completely happy because it's a rough times. And yet we're moving forward. And yet we're opening the doors in a safe, staggered, hybridish way that they're still figuring out 2 weeks before school actually starts. We're going to do this. we're moving forward with this. I'm like, I get it. Okay, fine. The Cuomo saying the New York percentage rate is less than 1% for the past 13 days. Life goes on. Children generally 99 point something percent don't die from this. Whatever.
You didn't die from eating pork. That's
If I didn't die from eating pork, children are not going to die from coronavirus. So I'm like, I'm getting all of this. And then there's one paragraph right in the middle where the guy writes, oh, and by the way, in one of our schools in the school district, one of the staff members tested positive last week for coronavirus. Oh, did they? But we've got the contact tracing in place, and we sent home 13 people, and no problem. We're still ready to open and go. And I'm just reading this, because I had been in that building a day ago, that same building, where they are taking a lot of precautions and they are being very safe. And B, it's like if one person on the staff got tested and got it just before 2 weeks before school even essentially starts, what do you think is going to happen the first week of school? Same thing that happened in that sorority.
23 girls, and they Michigan, Notre Dame, UNC, Chapel Hill. The list is on and on about. They bring them on campus and they send them home.
I mean, my coworkers were joking this, and my boss was joking about this earlier in the week, and just saying, so yeah, what's going to happen is we're going to have school for a week, and then everybody's going to be sent home. They're going to close the damn doors and fumigate the place. That's what's going to happen, because it's children. It's people together, even if they're practicing safe distancing. One person is going to test, right? And then that person will, and maybe in each school building when the kids are there, 2 or 3 or 4 kids out of 1,000, let's say, test positive. Suddenly dozens sent home. The ones who weren't hybrid are now home. The ones who are, it's gonna be. We all know this, and yet we're marching forward like lemmings into this thing. There's a great song. I don't know if he wrote it, but he performed it by Pete Seeger called "Waist Deep in the Big Muddy." The big fool says to push on. It's like the big presidential fool, I should say, in some ways. It's like, here we are, we're marching through the tramp in Vietnam or wherever that song's actually written about. And we can go forward or we can go back where it's still safe. Oh, let's keep going. It's okay that it's squashy on the bottom of where we're trying to walk through to the island. It's all right if our weapons are clogged with mud. It's all right if we're up to our shoulders now. We lost a couple of people. Now let's get the hell out and let the big fool drown. Right? It's a great song. Anyway, I hope we're not in the big muddy, as it were, in terms of the school year.
Big money.
Big mud, yeah. Waist Deep in the Big Muddy is the name of the song. Oh, is Bill with us? Did Bill?
Everybody's with us.
Oh, so do we have names? Do we have?
So the problem is I lose them, so I have to go back. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, we have David.
Mm-hmm.
We have David. And we have her. And we have Jack. And we have Melissa.
Yeah.
And we have Larry and Kyle, Brandon and Alan, Blake and Barry, Tim, Jake, Will.
Wow.
We have, hold on, I'm going slow, Martin. We have Greg. We have Linda. We have Laura. We have another David. We have James, and we have Cherry.
Whoa! So great that so many people.
Sherry, I'm sorry.
Not Cherry. Yeah.
Cherry, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I guess we accidentally popped that cherry there. But ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. And by the way, we've got in about 10 minutes, theater critic Irving Wardle will be talking with us in the Daverhood. Fingers crossed via Zoom. It's not here yet. So what we're going to do is, since we've got about 10 minutes, we have a short Inside Broadway segment that will be the perfect lead-in to talking with this great veteran theater critic. Inside Broadway is where I talk about all things theatrical and Broadwayical. It goes a little something like, hey, how come I can't find it there? That's the old one. Here's the new one. Oh, there's the old one. Inside Broadway, brought to you by Total Theater's Performing Arts Insider, your everything theater guide. Inside Broadway we go.
Uh-oh.
What happened? What happened?
The Shoop said they woke up not feeling well.
Oh no! I think they're just making an excuse if they don't perform well on the quiz. Did you hear the little burp that I squelched when I said that? Just everything's out in the open here. This is the kind of person that I am. So let's go inside Broadway. Let's talk about what's happening with the theater, which I repeat every week has been suspended since March 12th and is on official hiatus until January 3rd, although there probably won't be Broadway shows starting again until March of 2021 at the earliest. You know what? Let me do the sad news first, and I'm going to save the happy news for the end. Well, oh, you lost.
Oh, my whole computer just went.
Are you plugged in?
And
Yeah, you are.
It just went black and okay.
Yeah. Black computers matter, by the way. So here we go. Inside Broadway for this week. I got to say farewell to two Broadway people. One of them you might recognize if you were a fan of the movie Chariots of Fire. Actor Ben Cross passed away at the age of 72 after a short illness. He came from a working class family, but he started acting in shows in England at the Dukes of Lancaster, where he was in such minor works as Macbeth and Death of a Salesman. He was with a bunch of British.
I think the Shoops are off the quiz. They're both sick.
Oh,
okay.
So it'll be Leslie. It'll be Leslie against herself. Oh, well, make sure. Ask them if they're doing the quiz or not.
I'm gonna say okay.
Well, this is a terrible. So see, the quiz went so well last week, and now, but they're both sick.
Yeah, they didn't have a good night. They didn't sleep.
Oh wow. See, they left that sink water running too long.
I think they ate your bad ribs.
They ate my ribs.
I said David asked no video, but will you type in? And they said Leslie wins, but let's see.
Well, yeah, we're gonna find that anyway. Eventually, Ben Cross made it to the Royal Shakespeare Company, where he was in the original Privates on Parade production, and then he played Billy Flynn in the original staging of the musical Chicago in London. And then, of course, he was in Chariots of Fire. He's also well known in England for being in a series there called The Citadel. This is kind of interesting
They didn't sleep at all. I said, okay, feel better. It's always next week.
All right.
So the Shoobs are, what do you call it when you not defer when you?
There should be done basically.
No, when you step out of like a boxer steps out of a ring and they default.
They abdicate. They default. Yeah.
Abdicate. Yeah.
Leslie wins. So you get to play against Leslie, which is all right. Let me get through though inside Broadway here. 1982. This is kind of important for the New York theater industry. Ben Cross, they wanted him to appear in an off-Broadway show called Mighty Breeze. And there was a big problem because Ben Cross was a UK national, not an American. And especially in the early 1980s when Broadway was really in bad shape and off-Broadway was struggling. Off-Broadway was always struggling. And American actors were out of work most of the time. And Equity was saying, look, to protect the people in this country, we've got to limit the number of.
They're asking for Irving.
Oh, who is?
They're very interested when Irving will join.
Irving is scheduled to join at 10 o'clock. Mighty Breeze, right? So they want him to appear in this play, and Equity is making it kind of difficult because they figure, why bring in English actors when we have so many unemployed and equally capable American actors? But they worked out a deal, and they got Ben Cross in to do the show, and it opened the gateway for making up contracts and allowing English actors to come here and be on and off Broadway for sometimes a certain period of time, for a few months. And then if the show is a hit and goes on, then they have to leave and be replaced by American actors. But some of that really started with Ben Cross going into Mighty Breeze. In 1985, he did the King Mutiny Court Martial in London opposite Charlton Heston as Captain Queeg. And then he played a lot of Nazis and a lot of Jews. He was a Catholic guy, but that was most of his film roles later on. And I guess also if you're a sci-fi fan, he was Sarek in the 2009 Star Trek reboot film. So we're going to say farewell to Ben Cross, who passed away on August 18th. And you also have to say farewell, moving really off Broadway, to a person fairly prominent in really downtown experimental theater, a guy named Kenneth Bernard, or maybe it's, since we're being English, Kenneth Bernard, who died at the age of 90. We just found this out on August 9th. He was really one of those crucial figures in 1960s, 1970s experimental work at like La Mama and Ridiculous Theatricals. He had a PhD in English Lit from Columbia University. So he taught English for 40 years at Long Island University. But all the while at the same time, he was doing these very haunted, dark, grotesque, downtown-y kinds of shows, even though some of them were funny. He did something called the 60-Minute Queer Show, even though he was married with kids. Queer might have meant something different back in like the early 1970s. So he did that. I can't say that I ever saw any of his plays or any of his works. I didn't start attending theater really until the mid to late 1980s. But still, a farewell to Kenneth Bernard, or Bernard, who was a gift both to education and to downtown theater. And want to tell you really quickly that this segment is brought to you by Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway, a journal that has been around since 1944. So even during pandemic times. What, Ben?
Steve joined.
Steve who? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, and we've got our guest in the waiting room. So let's go through this quickly. Just to get to Performing Arts Insider, go to performingartsinsider.com, performingartsinsider.com. So from first page to last, it's every theater in New York, on, off, and off Broadway, how to contact the people involved in making theater. Because yeah, it seems like theater will never start up again, but it will, whether it's in March or later next year, it'll be back. And who's doing it, how you get in touch with them, all in the pages here, performingartsinsider.com. And for the hard copy, Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway. So the last thing I want to tell you before we get my my theater colleague and friend Irving Wardle in the Daverhood is that there is a bit of bright news, because everybody's wondering what the hell are the Tonys going to do? There were no Tonys this past June, the Tony Awards, because the season was stopped about 3/4 of the way through. There's more than a dozen shows that never got to open or never got to opening night. And so they know, and they're not going to put 5,000 people in Radio City Music Hall. What the hell are they going to do? Well, the Theater League and the American Theater Wing, which co-run the Tonys, they have decided that there will be a Tony Awards for the 2019-2020 Broadway theater season. They're not lumping it together with next year. They're not just forgetting about the season. There's going to be one for the past season, the 74th Annual Tony Awards, which were supposed to happen June 7th, will now have a digital, Zoomy, online presentation in the fall. They haven't picked a date. They haven't picked the qualifications of what shows and actors and designers are above the title, below. They don't have the rules yet. They just know that's how they're going to do it. The logistics are going to be decided. And so, yeah, thinking down the road, but there will be, yes, Virginia, there will be a 74th Tony Awards. And yes, my friends, we will have our very special guest in the Daverhood. Let's bring him into the fold, shall we? We shall. Just let's make sure his stuff is working and we've got our audio up. And I'm going to go to my gallery view. And ladies and gentlemen, the face that you are seeing is a man who was a critic for, in the United Kingdom, The Observer, the London Times, The Independent, and many other places. He's also a playwright. He is author of the book Theater Criticism. The man actually wrote a book about theater criticism. And you can actually get a paperback copy of this on Amazon. It's only $930.35 for this particular copy, plus $3.95 shipping. So I think that's a little much, asking for the shipping there. He is also the man, as we said, who coined the phrase, the comedy of menace, for the works of Harold Pinter, who was also a close friend. So won't you please welcome our new friend of the Daverhood, all the way from England, 91-year-old Irving Wardle. Welcome to the Daverhood. Can you hear me, Irving? And can we hear you?
Can you hear me? Hello, David. Can you hear me?
I hear you marvelously. And oh, and you do not look like a 91-year-old man. And I know that's an ageist thing to say, but how do you feel?
Tom, we love the library.
At the moment, I feel nervous.
Oh, no, you should not feel nervous in any way. Not with your background, not with your experience, not with, Joyce says, my wife says that she loves the library behind you, of looking just at books again. Do you still read, sit down and read books, especially during the pandemic?
I read for long hours in bed, where I seem to spend most of my life nowadays.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I get through quite a number of books that way.
Well, what have you read recently?
I read Barn 8 by by a Texan lady, which is about an animal rights attempt to free a load of battery chickens. It outlives the human race. It has a happy ending. All the humans die, but the hens live on. That's right. Yeah. Hi. Hello there.
They're very, very happy.
You're into fowls too, David.
No, wait, is that
Unfirth, she's called.
Debbie, is that a true story, or is it a fiction book, by the way? I couldn't tell.
Fiction, yeah.
No.
Debbie Unfirth. She teaches in Texas jails.
Oh, all right. Wow.
Creative writing.
Now, do you also read plays for fun, or do you only read fiction and nonfiction for fun? Do you ever crack open a play just to read?
I don't read plays very much. No, I've got out of the habit. I like reading. Restoration comedies, because I don't enjoy them on the stage very much because I can never follow the plot. But I love the way the words are put together on the page.
So is that like Sheridan and Wycherley? I never liked the rest. Who are the authors of those things?
Congaree, I like. Way of the World.
Huh. Yeah, I never got into restoration comedy on stage, on the page. I couldn't follow them.
It's practically vanished from the repertory now. I think it's because they don't teach they don't teach comedy performance, prose comedy performance in English drama schools any longer. It's sort of dropped out of sight.
Well, you are sort of in some way responsible for that, for being a proponent of a more in-your-face kitchen sink not experimental, but back in the 50s, I guess it kind of was, of people like John Osborne and Harold Pinter who have taken over those slots sometimes. Sure. So did you recognize when Osborne did like Look Back in Anger and those plays, did you feel something bubbling?
Yes, I was immensely fortunate because I got a job with no preparation whatever, and it coincided with the greatest period in English stage since the Elizabethans. It was an amazing stroke of luck, which I still feel astonishment that it happened.
And did you have?
Yeah, Osborne. I got married on the strength of Osborne's Look Back in Anger. I was knocking around with a Canadian girl, and we both fell for this play to such an extent that the marriage did not last very long. But it just speaks for the intoxication of the times that it carried us to the registry office, because we were both so enthusiastic about that piece.
Well, when you were enthusiastic about it, did you have long arguments with fellow critics who were like, oh, this is garbage and they should be doing Shakespeare, well, maybe not Shakespeare instead, but O'Neill or O'Neill equivalents in England back then? Or did you have to defend Osborne against people who didn't like the kitchen sink-ish aspects of his drama?
Not in the circles I moved in. There was a very distinct split between those who were enthusiastic about new wave plays and those who thought that it was that it was conducted by a band of young charlatans who had no right to be on the stage at all. But they were swiftly booted out of sight at the time. There was a kind of rumbling of discontent at Osborne that happened a bit later on. I mean, and I fell out with him after a play called A Bond Honoured, which was an adaptation of a Lope de Vega play, which he wrote during the time that his mentor and greatest friend George Devine was in the process of dying from a stroke. And I don't think Osborne gave his full attention to it. So anyway, the result was to general opinion, was not one of his best plays, but of course, he regarded the slightest word of criticism, especially from people who'd defended him in the past, as an act of treachery. So I had a great falling out with Osborne after that, and I think my only claim to immortality is that the British Library staged an exhibition on the history of writing last year, and one of the exhibits was the longest telegram in English history, which was Osborne's telegram to me on the occasion of the notice of a bond honoured. It must have cost him about 50 quid, this telegram.
Well, let me ask you though, this also brings up a subject, and being a member of the American Theatre Critics Association and the International Association of Theatre Critics that I have been for many years, every time we get together, especially in the early years that I was with the organization there, one of the things that always comes up, especially not so much for big city theater critics like you, but especially in the smaller cities and smaller towns is, okay, so you're the critic, you're reviewing the work, you're the objective outsider representing art and maybe representing the interests of the audience. How can you be friends with? How can you talk about having a falling out with John Osborne. You were a friend of Howard Pinter.
I was never personally friends with John Osborne. It was the problem came. The only significant figure I can claim to be friends with really is Pinter, who turned out to be a neighbour. There again, that work was his first work in London. The birthday party was generally dismissed, and I went along with my father, who was a Pirandello. He devoted his last years of his life to Pirandello, and this was the most exciting new work he'd seen since first encountering 6 characters in search of an author. I was not writing for the Times then. I was writing for a local newspaper in Lancashire, and anonymously, of course. And so I said, this masterpiece has been grievously mishandled by the Metropolitan reviewers, and on the strength of which I had a note from Pinter saying, your notice made a lot of sense. Who are you? So let's meet. So I discovered that he was a neighbour. We met in a pub on the Thames. I had no idea what he looked like or anything, but I mean, there was no mistaking this figure when he first appeared, because he made everybody else look like a blur. He was his eyes had black eyes which flashed, and every gesture he made had a kind of decisiveness about it that you don't find among many people. And for some reason we sort of hit it off, partly I think because of my my Canadian wife, whom I married on the strength of Look Back in Anger, yeah, who amused Harold because she'd studied psychology at McGill University in Montreal, and she had stories to tell about the researches into sensory deprivation by her teacher Donald Hebb, who was responsible partly for the kind of sensory deprivation techniques picked up by the CIA during their work in Iraq later on. And this amused Harold because, as you remember, a lot of that stuff goes into The Caretaker, in his remembrances of the lobotomy operations that he had to go, that the character of Aston had to go through.
And
So,
the Hot House too has a certain level of that kind of thing. It's been a long time since I saw the Hot House, but that, yeah, I think that also has some level of that kind
of. It does, yes.
Yeah.
Interestingly, he suppressed the Hot House for about 20 years before he finally allowed it to be performed. I never understood why. It seemed a very good piece to me.
And actually, what shocked the heck out of me, remember this was before really the internet exploded and you wanted to look at what anybody looked like. You could just go on in 4 seconds find out. So we studied Pinter in school, and I read some of his plays, and I liked something like others. But it was a shock to me when I went to London and saw the Hot House with him in it.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my God, he's like this very stocky. I didn't even know he was Jewish, but this stocky guy with, as you said, the noticeable eyes. But I never even pictured him from the other plays that he wrote looking like this normal sort of working classy kind of dude. I thought he'd be this effete, rather gay, waspish sort of fellow. I was like, no, not at all.
No. He was very careful about his costume. I mean, he had the costume of a go-ahead shirt salesman, really. I think, and he had this cultivated authoritarian manner, which came out, I think, most pronounced in the movie. Do you see the movie of Mansfield Park? In which he played Sir Bertram, this heavy Georgian father with interests in slavery in the West Indies. That was a pure Harold part. That was he was an authoritarian figure on stage, but used to barking commands. And
how was he as a neighbor?
Sorry.
How was he as a neighbor?
He was very good, extremely good company, but you had to learn the rules. You could never ask him any. You could never ask him any direct questions about what anything meant, as everybody knows that. You could ask him what characters wanted. That was a legitimate question. You could say, what does Lenny want, or he want to be able to get back to play the piano again. That was okay, but it was a tricky area, and I finally fell foul of him because, as you mentioned, I came up with this dubious phrase, comedy of menace, which applied reasonably accurately to the Birthday Party and the Caretaker, the early plays. And then came along a few years later, came the Homecoming, and it didn't obey the rules of comedy of menace at all. So I was in this situation, this familiar situation of the critic as patron. I felt that I'd sort of rescued Pinto from possible oblivion, because in some ways he was a classic example of the artist type, someone who writes obscure poems that nobody wants to read, and I still think that about his poetry. But I invented this phrase, and then he escaped the cage, and I couldn't reconcile myself to the fact that he wasn't obeying the rules which I had laid down. So we had a falling out over that, and we never really. We did met from time to time, and he used to fill me in on funny stories about things that were happening in rehearsals for the Homecoming, and not the Homecoming, for the No Man's Land and the later.
See, his later plays just leave me absolutely blank.
Well, same here. The thing is, all the wonderfully nuanced, ambiguous writing that he did when he was young, he threw that all away and became a playwright of slogans and direct statements and obvious loves and obvious hatreds in a way which seemed quite foreign to the talent which had interested me in the first place. I don't know about you.
No, absolutely. I mean, I remember the last play, new-ish play that I saw of his. It was the whole big thing was that it was 50 minutes long. So people who were paying to get in were paying about $1.50 a minute to watch essentially a one-act play. And I'm sitting there waiting for something to happen. It was, I think Lindsay Duncan was in it.
This is Ashes to Ashes we're talking about.
Probably, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'd rather play with a pile of ashes than watch this play.
He was convinced it was masterpiece. Yes, his old friend Henry Wolfe put that on. He was allowed to have the North American premiere of that at the University of Saskatoon.
Yeah.
And he said,
It should have stayed there. Let me tell you.
why are you letting us do it, Harold? And Harold said, why should London have all the gravy? He said,
because this gravy had lumps in it. But my question though is, since you were a neighbor and a friend, at a certain point, did you have to back away from reviewing his plays? It sounds like you didn't. And then what do you do? I mean, how do you, that was the thing that we have these conversations about in the theater critic circles of like, you can't be friends with an actor, you can't be friends with a playwright, because then, you can't win if you have to review them.
Well, that is perfectly true. I found it an increasingly embarrassing experience writing about Harold's plays. Even when I admire them very much, as I did in the case of No Man's Land, for instance. But when it came to things like One for the Road or The Party, I was twisted in agonies of embarrassment, because I really didn't like the stuff at all by that time. And did
you have to, when you liked one of his plays, did you have to put somewhere in the review that, by the way, with whom Mr. Pinter, with whom I am a personal friend, and then blah blah blah, blah. Like this sort of, not caveat emptor, what's the word?
An interest.
Yeah, I'm just saying, yes, I'm not going to hide the fact that I know this man personally, and that we bent elbows in the pub a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And given this, I still really liked his play. Did you have to do that? I
didn't do that. No, I did. Somehow that I haven't got an easy answer to that, David. When it comes to money and property, it's automatically you declare an interest. Somehow, when it comes to personal acquaintance, somehow you assume that professional values will override personal ones, even with it. And I must say, there aren't many writers that I've been as close to as I was to him at one time. So that, I was personally in a state of embarrassment, but I didn't make that embarrassment public. Maybe that was a mistake, probably was.
Well, or now in retrospect, and speaking of retrospect, this is one of the things
I think about jumping on both sides of the fence. There was, the big example of that, of course, was the other bloke I spent quite a lot of time with, Charles Marowitz. Who
I actually knew Charles.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever met him personally, but we corresponded a lot.
Yes.
So he was a character. Tell us about Charles Marowitz.
Well, Charles Marowitz was very much underappreciated in London, I think, partly because his manner was very abrasive. He was a professional antagonist. He made it a point of honor very seldom to say anything kind about anybody, especially when it came to biting the hands that fed him. But when you add it, he was one of the American makers of modern London theatre, both in terms of setting up his own house and digging up new work and building an extremely interesting company and working internationally, and also inventing a kind of drama which didn't exist in this country before he arrived, in the Shakespeare collages, which I thought were a real genuine artistic innovation, particularly as in his case, he was not an original writer in the normal sense of the word, but something very original and vulnerable and gentle came through when he was adapting other people's work, whether it was Shakespeare or Büchner or any of the other people he touched. I thought he was
just explaining for our viewers what a Shakespeare collage is.
The Shakespeare collage is you take a work like Hamlet, which was the first work he got to, first Shakespeare text he got to work in, and you redistribute the text among different characters, so that you might have the ghost's line spoken by Gertrude, or a Hamlet's soliloquy spoken by Laertes instead. And the point is, I think it's based on the idea of Shakespeare transcendence, because in Shakespeare you get at least two levels of communication going on at the same time. There's the communication of the character in the situation, and there's the communication of the poet on top of that, so that when people say, well, you take a speech like forever and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, it's no good saying, well, this is Shakespeare's opinion about human life, because it's Macbeth in this particular situation. Well, it is Macbeth in this situation, and also it is the poet speaking on top of that, so that it is in a sense that you can say that it is a philosophic consideration of human life, even though it's spoken by a limited character in a limited situation. And I think what Charles did with the collages was to release the transcendent side and produce levels of irony which are not immediately visible from the text as written. And you got some very interesting results from that, even when it meant. I mean, the most obvious example of it, the main one that might stand a revival nowadays, was Taming of the Shrew, which he recast as a Jacobean tragedy. I don't know if you saw it. So that instead of being a rather feminist questionable comedy, it becomes a tract against the mistreatment of women, culminating in what the equivalent of a Russian show trial, when she's put on display to confess all the mistakes she's made up to that point by showing her independent will.
Huh. Wow. By the way, I want to say that the folks who are watching this interview are just so impressed with you and are so thrilled and interested in all the stuff that our guest Irving Wardle is saying. Irving, who has, when did you start? When were you first? Because we'll get back to Charles Marowitz, because I want to hear some Marowitz stories. But one of your dad, right, was a critic, because you mentioned he was a Pirandello nut. So what?
My father was he was a professional actor before the First World War.
Wow.
But he couldn't make a living out of it, and so he went into journalism in Lancashire, in the northwest, and founded an amateur theatre called the Bolton Little Theatre. So he was an anti-careerist, my dad. If anything showed any signs of succeeding, he would be out of it in a flash. Anything rather than making money.
Yeah.
He was never in any danger of making money as an amateur actor, so he applied it. That was what he spent most of his life doing. And also, when he went through the war, he learned Italian, so he spent his latter years as a translator of Italian plays.
Oh wow! So did he inculcate the love of theater in you, or did you find it rather independently of your dad?
No, I used to go along with him to press nights in Manchester and elsewhere in the north. So I picked it up from him, so that's where I got basic theatrical literacy. And also from the radio was great in the war, source of drama. So that was the beginning of that. But I never saw myself going into the theatre. I wanted to be a piano player.
I did not. So do you have a piano in your? Do you practice every day still? Do you play?
Most days, yeah. But there was the cycle of events was that I went to school, then I went to college for 3 years, then I went and did national service in the army for 2 years.
Between wars, I assume it would have been when? That would have been
after the war. This was after the war.
Right.
And I didn't know what the hell to do with myself after that. So I went to a music college, and I found whatever musical ability I'd had to begin with had disappeared by that time. So I spent 2 years being older than anybody else and being dumb in the army. Then I spent 3 years being older than anybody else, being dumb at music college.
And then you came out and
then my godfather ran a newspaper. He was edited a newspaper in the north, and he said, if you don't know what to do with yourself, go and see this friend of mine at the Times. He might throw you the odd scrap. So I went to see this guy at the Times, and he said, okay, go to the Irving Theatre tonight and see J.R. Ackerley's play, The Prisoners of War. So I was working in a kitchen by this time, making my living as a kitchen skivvy. So I rang up my boss and said, I won't be coming in to wash up dishes tonight. I'm going to review a play for the Times instead. So I went and did that, and I've been used to feeling stupid for 5 years, older than anybody else, and stupid, incapable. Then I came back after that, sat down, and as soon as I had a pen in my hand, I felt I know what I'm doing. Now,
Irving, do you still have, I was going to ask this just before, because part of what I've been doing the past bunch of months is trying to archive all the stuff that I wrote for newspapers and magazines that are, some of them are no longer extant, and just making sure they're online and available. Do you have that review? That first one was Prisoners of something? It was the
Prisoners of War. Yes. The thing is, I have no recollection of that play at all, apart from one line where there's an elderly officer held in a German prisoner of war camp, and he says at some point, I don't think I shall ever surprise myself again. And I remember that line because when I got back and started to write this interview, I was surprising myself because I didn't feel stupid any longer. I thought, here's something I can do, I thought.
Can we find that review? Can we find, how much of your work can we find without paying $900 for your book on Amazon? How do have you collated and collected? Does a library have your?
I've got old cuttings, yeah.
Well, good. I mean, but are they available to humanity and not just you and?
I think if you wanted to get hold of it, you could probably get a copy from the Times. If you, I think it was sometime in 1955. This was this.
Well, here's then my question is broader then. And so you mentioned before that if you're going to be famous at all, it's because that your legacy is that John Osborne wrote hate mail to you or a hate telegram to you. But what do you feel about your legacy? God willing, you'll be with us another 10, 20 years, but you're 91 years old. What do you hope that you have left behind and that people will see after you're gone?
I don't. The theatre, and even that very marginal side of it, which includes theatre critics, I think is a very evanescent phenomenon. I think it disappears into the atmosphere, and you can't really, in very few cases, can you talk about definite influences. And text is one thing. Texts survive, theatre texts. And to some extent, some memory of productions survive, though in a very misleading way, unless they've been recreated imaginatively in a very imaginative manner. But the theatrical past, I think, is a very hazy thing. And a lot of it just evaporates into the atmosphere. Obviously, influences are pervasive, but it's extremely difficult to pin them down, I think. I don't know what you think.
Well, I'm speaking specifically because you are responsible for text. You wrote a couple of plays, but you also written, I'm sure, thousands of theater reviews that are part of the legacy of theater. And, I want to make sure those don't go away. I mean, I guess you can go on microfiche at the Times or something, but like if I Google your name, which I did, looking to read your past work, it's kind of hard. We find out a bit about you. I found out that you were doing Zumba a few years ago. That's kind of cool. Are you still doing that?
Doing what?
Zumba. You were
Zumba.
taking Zumba classes at like the
No,
early
no,
80s.
my knees have packed in. I'm not doing Zumba.
Oh, well, but it was kind of great to see. It was kind of neat. But that's what I found, as opposed to, oh, your review of this Pinter play, this Tennessee Williams play, this Arthur Miller play. You know, I kind of like to have those readily available, but you don't seem to.
I think they must be available, because if you when books come out about Tennessee Williams or Osborne, for want of anything better, writers of such books are obliged to go back and have a look at what the notices were. And so notices I've written, and Billington and Michael Coveney and my other colleagues,
Yes.
tend to crop up in these books, because what other evidence is there as a rule? You know, it's not that necessarily that these comments are particularly to be trusted, or even particularly well worth reading, but there's nothing else as a rule.
Well, yeah, that's why it's part of the legacy. But I did mention those two names very specifically, Miller and
the story about this is that when Brecht was approached about this matter, he said, "Do critics matter?" And this is at a time when Ruth Barlow is taking all these pictures of the ensemble rehearsals, and there are people interviewing them all the time, and tape recorders are spinning around. And he says, "Yes," she said, "critics do matter, because the texts are there. Those I don't need anyone to. I don't need critics so far as my texts are concerned, but so far as the production is concerned, critics are the best available record." So he said that in spite of all the documentary evidence that, above all, in his case, was really piling up in quite substantial quantities.
Well,
so that I take some comfort from that.
Well, good. That's really kind of what I was getting at. But I also want to get at, and I mentioned, did you have, again, you weren't friends with them, but did you have like a professional row, as it were, with both Arthur Miller and Tennessee Williams at some point? Am I misremembering this? Or, you know, you didn't like plays that they wrote, and they actually tried to contact you directly about that. They took it personally.
No, I never had any contact with Williams. I had quite the reverse contact with Arthur Miller, who was ill in hospital, and somebody sent him a copy of that theatre criticism book that you mentioned, and he came through with a very favourable review, which was published in some American magazine. I can't remember for the moment which.
And there's American. No, it was Theatre Week. Was
it? Yeah.
Publication that no longer exists, but Theatre Week was the thing. Yeah. And
I blinked in disbelief when I saw that.
But again, when something like that happens, the next time you reviewed an Arthur Miller play, did you think, maybe I'll go a little bit easier on him because he said such a nice thing about
Well, I always rather liked it. I know late Arthur Miller was treated in America as late Pinter was treated in England. I think as what a shame he's writing this rubbish nowadays, when he used to be quite a good performer. Was I quite like things like Broken Glass and Danger Memory.
Right Down Mount Morgan, I thought was very fun and very underrated.
Yeah.
Comedy that he did about a guy with two wives.
That very last one, yes. It was. What was it called?
Well, the last one. I'm sorry. There was one that Peter Falk did off Broadway called Mr. Peter's Connections, and I just was like,
I don't know that.
That was terrible. Really, really terrible. But most of the others were not. You know, and Broken Glass was good, and critics were just like, yeah. You know. But that's right. You did have that good thing with Arthur Miller. Hey, I didn't mention that when you were writing for the Times, the head guy in theater there was Sir Kenneth Tynan, who's not really known that much, pay attention to in this country, but he was a titan over by you guys.
He was. I think he was quite big when he was on the New Yorker, wasn't he?
Oh, maybe he was big here before my time. But do you have any Kenneth Tynan stories?
Tynan.
You must have dealt with. He was the guy there that you were sending your copy to.
I was number 2 to him on the Observer.
Yeah.
He was vastly celebrated as a critic, but he never made much money, and he longed to increase his income, and so he was an editor, which of course he had unusual sexual tastes, Ken, and he tried to bring these two things together by putting on early porno reviews.
So he's the Calcutta guy. I forgot about that. Right? He wasn't part of that.
Calcutta was one that had a long run, and then he had thoughts of doing a second one called
Let My People Come. Was that one? No, there was actually a review called Let My People Come. I don't remember
the title of it. Whatever was it called?
I don't recall.
No, I can't remember the title. But he invited contributions, and I sent a contribution. I wrote a piece of porno and sent it in to him. He said, "Yeah, we could do this." And then he backed down and said, "Well, actually, we've got this brilliant piece by Ionesco, which happens to exploit exactly the same subject as yours. So, very sorry." But it was the only time I disliked him, because he was famously cold-hearted, Ken. Someone said when he got his invitation to go to take this job at the New Yorker, it was as though everybody else in the room disappeared and he was in New York already. And someone said, trying to get any human kindness out of Ken Tynan was like trying to get milk out of a wasp. But he was very nice to me. But the only time I disliked him was I'm just going to turn this telephone.
Of course, please. We're talking, by the way, with Irving Wardle, the veteran United Kingdom theater critic, mentored, as we said, by Ken Tynan, who treated him pretty well. Friends with Pinter, and we'll get back to Charles Marowitz in just a little bit for some stories about him. I also want to talk about our Romania trip. So still much to talk about with Irving Wardle, who's just turned off his device. And so, so finishing up, but any cool anecdotes, personal ones? Because one of the things that you can tell that nobody else can is directly, because we can find out about old Calcutta, we can find out about, Ken Tynan's life as a producer, but, what's a story about Ken Tynan that only you remember?
When I was subbing on the Observer, there was Ken was writing criticism there, and he was also editing a television program called Tempo, which is an arts program, which he had a lot of trouble with, and he used to get very, very nervously exhausted. And on one occasion, on the occasion I'm speaking of, his copy came in, and it was rubbish. It was incomprehensible rubbish from start to finish. It fit the ending of it. It said, "Next week, Orson Welles will be here, outrageously correct." Never Orson Welles having nothing whatever to do with what the week shows happened to have been. It was written in a state of dementia, so I had to stand in for him and go and see a performance of O'Neill's Morning Become Electra, which went on for about 4 hours,
right.
Recollect so far as I could another play which appeared that week, which I'd happened to have seen in a preview, and then come home and write the two things overnight without going to bed. I never had a word of thanks for Ken for that. This is milk, no milk from a wasp situation.
Yeah, although he might think, hey, look, you got a good byline in the Times for a major play. So he's probably
I
thinking
was delighted because I never wanted much to write for Tempo magazine or to write porno, but I did covet his slot in the Observer, and I got it that night because there was no alternative.
Right, exactly. Do you remember the review or piece that you've written over your entire career that you are most proud of? Like, is there a review, or was it your book?
Oh, somebody wrote in.
Oh, hold on. Somebody just wrote in what?
Peter Anthesonian said, so great seeing and hearing both of you 24 years after spending time with you in Cebu.
Did you hear that?
No.
No, my wife was saying that we just got a message on Facebook. One of the people who's watching this right now is Peter Antonissen. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who was one of our cohort, one of the critics, young critics who joined us. We were part of the cohort in Cebu in Romania, and we had such a wonderful time there. And he's saying hi. He says, it's so great seeing and hearing the both of you. And my God, it's like our silver anniversary. It was like 24 years ago. So Peter, you remember
Where's
Peter.
he speaking? Where's he speaking from?
Isn't he in Holland? I think he's Dutch. I could be.
I'll ask him.
And there was Vladimir, who was a Czech fella. He was the guy I was shared a room with when we were in
And
Romania.
who was that lovely boy from Iran?
I don't.
Do you remember him at Cebu? Yeah. And he said, he presented me with a book. And I thought, God, what kind of theatre do they have? Because I have been to Iran. I went there when Peter Brook's August was happening. But that was inside the Shiraz Festival, which is like a bubble of Western culture airlifted into the desert. But I thought, what kind of native theatre do they have in Iran? And he gave me this very, very lavishly illustrated book, and it was Tennessee Williams and Pinter and Edward Albee, exactly the Western repertory which they had played. It changed my idea. Changed my fundamental ideas about Iran. Saying that the mullahs may be in charge there, but culture remains westernized in a very civilized way.
Yeah, because this was already post the hostages. This was already when Iran was like,
sure.
And they were still doing. I didn't realize that, because I thought maybe, okay, pre-19, whenever it was, pre-Reagan, sure, they were doing Western stuff during the Belgium. Oh, so Peter's from Belgium. Belgium is where Peter Anderson is from. But I don't remember the Iranian fellow at all, and I'm sorry about that. What else do you remember of our Romania trip?
I remember not being able to put my socks on in the morning because I had sciatica and my feet looked 200 miles away.
Oh dear, that's awful. You seem, as I said, in good shape except for your knees now.
Get down to my feet now.
Yeah. All right. Do you remember? I told before that the one thing I do remember is that there was this big theater that we were in, and they packed it because it was a festival, and that it was so crowded that we were afraid the balcony.
The Dutch-speaking part of Belgium.
Peter's from the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium.
Is that the Radu Stanka?
Yes, the Radu Stanka. I assume they buttressed it in the years since we'd been there and made it a little more stable. But I literally thought, okay, we're gonna die. We're gonna die watching this play because and a lot of other people are gonna die too because we're gonna be crushed under them. But what else? I mean, I know you probably traveled so many places, but before we get to some of those places, any other Romania memories? Because I don't remember a lot.
My Romanian, I've been to Romania 3 or 4 times, so I get the different memories mixed up.
Yeah.
I did make one very good friend in Romania who was a director, because it was a great place for directors, wasn't it? For some reason, it bred theatre directors like rabbits. And there was Chule and David Espert and Andrei Shaban, and the guy I got fond of called Penchilescu.
I heard the name. I haven't seen. We saw Chule when we were there.
He was famous for doing a King Lear, doing King Lear with Lear aged only 40. And I said, why do you do it? Why do you do it with such a young actor? He said, to show that he's got plenty to lose, he said.
Oh, yeah, and he could have had 3 daughters by that age,
Yeah.
and
I think that one went down in theatre history because it went on when there was a Romanian president called Georgiu Dej, whose contribution to history was that he secretly bred up a whole generation of Romanian bureaucrats whom overnight he used to supplant the Soviet trained ones. There was a kind of absolutely bloodless coup, and Romanian nationalists took over where previously they'd had Soviet administrators, and he let the political prisoners out of prison. All happened on the same night. And this coincided with Radu's production of King Lear, which had this line, when they came to this line, none doth offend, none, and all the house lights came up and everyone stood to their feet and clapped, the idea of this act of political liberation which had taken place, and which coincided so perfectly with this event in this Shakespearean revival.
Isn't it amazing when I mean, that happens so incredibly rarely in theater, especially in America, where it really is like a political moment. Apparently that happened once or twice in Hamilton, when a certain line would coincide with something that was going on in America that week.
Yep.
And suddenly people would explode in a way that wasn't even, when Manuel Miranda was writing it, he didn't even have that in there. And then suddenly, bam,
Yes, I think that was a real kind of iron curtain theatre. That being in Czechoslovakia, and there was some comedy called Whose Turn Next, and there was some. It had to do with unreliable supply of electricity, and somebody trying to change the plug, and suddenly the house collapsed in delirious amusement. And I was with my friends. I said, "What's the line? What's the line?" She said, "Well, it's just the line: first the leader, and then everybody else." This being some kind of electrical pun on how plugs work in Czechoslovakia. A very feeble pun, but it was enough to set the house on fire.
Yeah. No, that I love. That should happen more, I think.
Yeah.
And it does. Speaking of electric, because we have only a few minutes left, unfortunately, with Irving Wardle. But I want to get back to an electric personality we were talking about before, Charles Marowitz.
Yeah.
And him being, as you said, he could be loathsome. And as a matter of fact, I'll say this out right now. The woman who's coming on right after this to play our trivia quiz, she's been a theater critic for many years, Leslie Hoban Blake, and she said she knew Charles Marowitz and he was just a repulsive human being. So do you have any repulsive stories or any surprisingly charming stories, besides inside his work, but as a person?
Well, he discarded quite a lot of girlfriends in a heartless manner. But that maybe that's not such an individual thing. I had a very good, amazingly friendly relationship with Charles. I don't quite know why, because I was a limey. He claimed not to like limeys, and I'm limey through and through. But he was prepared to tolerate that. I'm sorry, I can't immediately.
No, I just thought you might have, again, a personal Marowitz story, the way you had one about having to write the review for.
Ask him if you could say it in Dutch for Peter.
If you can also, whatever anecdote you tell it in Dutch, because our friend Peter's co-watching. But then let me spin that a whole different thing, because one of the things that you mentioned that might be fun maybe not fun talking about, is where theater goes from here, and theater criticism as well. I mean, what the hell do you expect to be happening in the middle of 2021, let's say?
I have an awful feeling it might be very much like what it is now. I mean, I hope to God I'm wrong, but I can't see any immediate any immediate signs of this present situation easing up. I mean, all kinds of people are making plans. Andrew Lloyd Webber, I believe, is planning a Cinderella for April next year. I'll be surprised if it happens. I mean, I mean, from my point of view, I don't view not seeing a Cinderella with any great sense of disappointment. But there doesn't seem to be any concrete reasons for suspecting that the situation is going to get cleared up anytime soon.
Well, that's a happy note. So let's not end on that. Let's also.
That's some alternative.
Yeah, I mean, have you enjoyed Zoom theater? Do you watch shows on Zoom, specifically crafted for the Zoom process? Yeah.
What I have enjoyed, and it's only one show, is Richard Nelson, whom you must know about.
The Apple Family. Yeah, he's actually been on this program. Yeah.
All these plays set in Rheinsberg.
Yeah.
It went down like a hot dinner for me, because if I've got a theory that obsesses me about drama is that my great reservation about plays and drama in general is that they tell lies about the human race by simplifying human behavior in order to produce plot lines and conflict. And the idea of theatre on drama without conflict is deeply appealing to me, and Richard Nelson seems to have pioneered an approach to doing that, but through relationships rather than concentrating on plot or character, and thinking that interest comes from watching how relationships develop in given external circumstances, and that ordinary human behavior is worth attention and has value in itself. And
even without rising, falling action, leading to a climax, leading to, our typical million plays written this way.
Yeah.
Without, because we learned first year when I was taking playwriting at New York University,
Yes.
There's no theater without conflict. And you meet maybe one playwright who says, yeah, there's still theater without conflict, because just the interaction of people,
yes,
momentarily there will be.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I just hope it grows and grows. I mean, he claims Chekhov as his precursor, doesn't he, Nelson? And I think he did a production of Uncle Vanya, and he said that the great problem with Uncle Vanya, from my point of view, this is Nelson speaking as a director, is that it's got 3 soliloquies in it, and I believe in drama being an interaction between people rather than anyone shooting off direct address. So he got around this, and by having a mute spectator sitting on the stage for Andrea or whoever it happened to be to address his soliloquy to, so that the soliloquy was turned into an act of conversation instead. I can't quite imagine whether that. Apparently, the production was I'm told was very well received. But I can't.
But the thing is, I will put in there that when you talk about the Apple, I watched and I enjoyed part of the Apple Family plays. I just haven't had a chance to watch more of them. Every moment there is still, almost in a Pinterest way, except without the pauses, microaggression. If you're looking at a relationship and you're looking at that family around the table, you can see the husband feeling a certain way about the wife, feeling a certain way about the sister-in-law.
Sure.
There is conflict.
Yes.
You can't say that there may not be like this rising thing to suddenly an explosion, but it's moment to moment there's microaggression conflict.
Yes, but it's not. You have to expand your definition of conflict, I think, to include that. What it doesn't have is this. What you like find in Irish pubs or in tabloid newspapers, namely. Organizing the events that you're reporting or the people that you're involved with in order to produce a fight, and the fight itself is the spectacle. And I think the lowest form of that is these kind of plays in which rows take the place of plot, people shouting at each other and having and
that's interesting. That's wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for that that insight. What an insightful. That's the thing. We have only a couple of minutes left with Irving Wardle. So my other question then is: are you writing? Have you been writing in the past half a year?
Well, I wrote a novel for the first time in my life, which I thought, well, I'm going to finish this. I did it when I was sort of 89, so I thought it was a point of honor to get the damn thing written. So I'm shopping it around. I don't know if it's ever going to find a publisher, but it was to quote that line from The Prisoners of War. I did surprise myself again when I found I could produce that many words.
Well, have you put it aside for a couple of months and then read it and then said, "Oh, I like this," or I think I should start my next novel?
No, I haven't. No, so maybe if I look at it next time, I'm going to immediately dump it in the trash can. Who knows?
Well, don't do that. But knock wood, they'll pick it up and publish it. And as I keep sort of pounding again and again, I will hope that you kind of make a bit of an effort, since you're not going to the theater these days, to gather the most important of your works and just make sure that we can access them, and that you don't have to go to the office of the Observer.
I'm scared of going back in time. Actually, that's my. I think in what time's left, I feel I want to live forwards rather than backwards. So I did two things. I wrote this novel, and I joined a comic improv class, which was immensely enjoyable. And
wow! Was this before COVID, or is this an online improv class?
This is before COVID, yeah. So we had time enough to do one show, and another life slogan, which I shall intend to live by, is "Step with confidence into the void," which really makes sense.
Good for you. I mean, what was your? I'm not going to put you on the spot to do material, since it's improv. You're doing with other people. But what was your a shining moment that you had, like a breakthrough moment when you were taking that improv?
Discovering that I could be discovering myself as a prince of the church, turning up to have a haircut.
And that was a character. I was wondering I thought that was another metaphor. No, you were literally a prince.
Yeah.
Turning up for Wow. Are you going to resume that once this
this is my hope for 2021, but I fear it may not happen.
So how are you, as you said, you read a lot, you're reading bed a lot. What other hobbies are you trying to do? Do you have people around you? Are you still married? Do you have kids?
Yes. I'm most of my life is married life. I have eight grandchildren.
As Rabbi Saul Solomon, he's a friend of the show, would say Mazel Tov.
Thanks to him, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Are any of them in the arts?
Yes, one of them works for an outfit called Charcoal Blue. They restore theatres and give advice to. They restore existing theatres like Chichester and the National Theatre Studio. And they also give advice on organizations that are thinking of setting theatres up. So, I mean, if you have a university thing where we're thinking of having a theatre installed, they'll go in there and say, what exactly do you want to use this for? Do you want it to be an adaptable space, or do you want it to be able to be used with an orchestra pit? Because all too often, university or whatever it is will go direct to an architect who doesn't know much about theatres, and they'll produce something that looks very pretty, but it turns out to be unworkable when the time comes. So my son Alex's outfit are there to act as a kind of safety net. He went to last week. He was in Germany, looking at lighting on a cruise for the seating on a cruise ship.
Sure. Well, who the hell's taking a cruise until 2025 though?
You'd be surprised. There are an immense number of people signing up for the first cruise they can get when the lockdown comes to an end.
I think I would rather swim to Europe at this point.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, Dave. If only I could still swim.
Well, it has been absolutely a delight chatting with
Irving. Thank you ever so much, Dave. And I've enjoyed myself a lot.
Oh, good. Okay. I hope that your knees get better. At this point, so that you can walk to the theater when you need to, and that you do more writing, and that you do more thinking and reading and enjoying of the life that we all have left. And it's been just an honor to know you, and a pleasure, and wishing you great, just great health and good things.
Thank you very much, and very, very good to see you again after such a long time.
I
Wow.
know, we're 24 years.
24 years.
Let's not be strangers. Also, I'm very bad at that. I'm hey, and then I get along great with someone, and then decades go by, and it's like, oh, I wonder if they're still alive. Oh my God, they are. Hi. So let's not be strangers. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye, David.
Bye bye now.
Thank you.
Irving Wardle, ladies and gentlemen, in the Daverhood. I just have to remove you. Bye bye now. On the Dave's Gone By Facebook, your podcaster and program.
Somebody said pure eloquence.
Oh, I wish I told them that. But yes, one of the reviews came in for Irving Wardle on Dave's Gone By. One of the critics from the Throng. One thing we didn't get to talk about was the democratization of theater criticism that's happened since the internet exploded and social media. Well, we'll save that for next time. But someone just said, what, pure eloquence was
Yeah,
it?
that was Bill, our friend Bill.
Oh, our friend Bill said pure eloquence. Now, what I am waiting for, though, is the not only don't we have the shoobs at the moment, but I am waiting for my good friend and our friend of the neighborhood, Leslie Hoban Blake.
To see if she can't find the link.
She hasn't called. I haven't heard from her. I'm going to text her.
I think everybody, like, that quiz was just so much energy. People they feel like they can't match it. So I think people are hesitant to redo it, Like, once you have such a good experience, I think people are hesitant to relive it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, no, it takes more than a week to get over our yesterday quiz. I'm going to text her right this second. I'm hoping that, I did send her the link, and that maybe I have to go into my mail server to do it, which I hope I don't have to do. But while I'm doing that, are there any people who've been watching and joining in? Can we name them? Yeah, shout them out.
Oh my God. And when I look now, they're gone. There's an ant on the screen.
Okay, kill the ant.
Ants everywhere. I won't kill them, but there's so many people. Like, there are billions of people, and then when I go back, they're gone. I can't see them. People join, like George, a bunch of people, and then I can't see the names. But at least 10 people joined during the interview. 10 that I could track.
It'd be great to, I'm just emailing. Where are ya? All right, let's just hope. I'm hoping that she will join us. I can push the quiz off and do some of the other things that we do. Oh, wait, excuse me. Here she is. Ladies and gentlemen.
Victoria's champion.
The champion of that. Oh,
Undefeated.
where is she? Where? Hold on. From last year, feels like a year ago. It's been such a week. Yesterday quiz, she's supposedly joining. I've admitted her. So while we're waiting, remember that Hewlett Minuteman Press are the copy kings of Broadway in Hewlett, New York. I'm just like, what's so funny? Hewlett Minuteman Press. So, here we go. Just doing this commercial, Leslie, before we get on. Hold on. We're going to see your moment. Hey, Leslie, let's see the rest of your face. I see your nose.
Okay, this time I got in, right?
Yeah.
I have a little thingy that will give me a background. Wait a second.
Oh,
I think
we're going to try this background thing. Let's see this.
I don't know if I want to do it or not. Let's see what happens. I looked up how to do it.
Yeah.
But I can't do it unless I'm actually on here with you. I don't have a.
Well, you are on. You're with us now.
No, but I was looking to see if I could find a virtual background.
Can you make yourself?
It's not opening. It's not opening. So.
It's fine. Your background is fine. It looks great.
I know. I like my background, and I don't want to disappear.
So before we get to our quiz, I just want to tell everybody about Hewlett Minuteman Press, the franchise in Hewlett, Long Island, for all your copying, printing needs, and as well as if you need to silk screen your company logo on a shirt or a uniform. They can also put your logo on everything from a pen and pencil set to sporting equipment to balloons to banners. Hewlett Minuteman, and if you tell them Dave sent you, you get 10% off any job, big or small. So give them a call. 516-569-5577. Area code 516-569-5577. Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are the copy kings. And ladies and gentlemen, the queen has arrived. Leslie Hoban Blake.
Like the trumpets? Are there trumpets? I want
There
trumpets.
won't be trumpets. There won't. Yeah, there will be trumpets for Leslie.
There was a
Now,
wonderful story. I don't remember who wrote it, but there was a wonderful story in Playboy magazine called A Flourish of Strumpets. That was the greatest.
No.
That's a pun you would enjoy, I thought, you know.
Certainly, yeah. You know, because I used to read all the articles in Playboy.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
like the cartoons. I went for the cartoons.
The cartoons are cute. Yeah. There was S. Gross was there, and I forget some of the other sick, funny cartoon. And Gahan Wilson, I think, used to do.
Yeah, Gahan Wilson, definitely. There was always a Gahan Wilson. I adored Gahan Wilson.
Yeah. But anyway,
Did you talk to Irving Wardle yet?
Yeah, we just finished the Irving, as you would know because you watch the show every week. You don't just wait for your damn cue. I mean, seriously.
You're lucky I got up. Don't give me watch the show. Seriously though, did you ask him about Charles Marowitz?
Yeah. We were talking about Marowitz. We're talking about Sorry. Oh well, yeah. That brings up.
Yes.
That I can tell you that, of course, if you want to see the interview with Irving Wardle.
I do. I will watch it. Yes.
Great. So just all you have to do is go on my Facebook page and you can watch. I mean, wait a few minutes and this episode will be up there. You can watch.
I'm not on Facebook. I will wait till you send me the link. I'm sorry. I don't. I'm not.
You'll have
and,
to.
And even the pandemic has not put me on Facebook, so I'm not going to be on Facebook. I held off. I'm on. I tweet. I have an Instagram account and I watch TikTok. That's as much as I can.
Do TikTok.
I don't do it. I watch it. I think I don't have the gift. I don't have the gift of being able to put together a 30-second anything. So that's not.
So, but how is TikTok different from Instagram? How are Instagram and TikTok?
Instagram is your photographs. You can do videos, but it's just a place where you post anything you want to post. TikTok is actual little video strips for 15 seconds. I remember I sent Joyce to see the Dachshunds.
Yes, she loves that.
But people now I found the greatest TikTok in the world. No, it's Instagram. It's Instagram. And you're not going to believe this. The Conway's daughter, guess which Conways I'm talking about? The Conways have a daughter called Claudia. George and what's Kellyanne have a daughter named Claudia.
Yeah. Oh, she's not the same political persuasion as mom. Yeah.
No, she follows her own road, but she follows dad more than mom. And she put up a notice of herself saying, "You think you can embarrass me? I'm Kellyanne Conway's daughter."
Oh.
That is a meme that will live in infamy forever. I love this girl. I want to have her elected the next vice something or other. Maybe she could be ambassador of state or something like that. Because not ambassador of state, secretary of state, excuse me. But I
wouldn't want to be at the family barbecue with her. I wouldn't want to be family reunions. No, indeed. Oh.
I imagine that they have a no politics rule.
One would hope. But here's the deal with two things that I want to mention. That I don't need to even send you the link. If you go to davesgoneby.com.
I know. I have that. I know how to get there. I just haven't done it.
Yes, well, I'm saying give it a few hours or a day after the show airs, and then you can watch this entire program, including the interview with Irving Wardle and all.
I asked you to ask him about Charles Marowitz because I had a dreadful story about Charles Marowitz that happened to me.
I told him that you said he was a repulsive human being. I actually told him that.
And what did he say?
So tell your Charles Marowitz story, and then we'll get to the quiz. Yeah.
Did he agree with me or not agree with me, or did he have no comment?
He said that Charles was very sweet to him, but that Charles was horrible to most everybody and terrible to women.
Yes, thank you. He was a misogynist of the first order.
Sounds
and
like
he wrote, when I was directing, when I had my little theater downtown on East 4th Street, I was the artistic director of the theater that was diagonally across the street from what is now New York Theater Workshop. It used to be called Truck and Warehouse back in the day. Anyway, this is 1984, 85. And we ran it with the idea of a woman's project because there was a woman's project uptown by Julia Miles. And I was not ripping her off. I had a different vision. I wanted to do the classics and Shakespeare. That was we had a smaller theater for new plays, but I was interested in doing. I'm listed as the first American female director to ever do the Rover in America, which is nice.
That's how
I didn't know I was. Somebody called me a couple of years ago and said, hey, you know what? We're going to put you in this thing as the first, and we checked, and you're the first female. I mean, it was done by other people, but it was interesting. Anyway, I got in touch with Charles Marowitz because he has a book called The Marowitz Shakespeare, in which he took the various and sundry Shakespeare's tales and he gave them his own twist. And one of the twists that he gave to The Taming of the Shrew, and I totally agree with him because I have this feeling about this play, is that it is simply a story about a man brutalizing a woman. And he took out all the romance, all the jokes, all the everything. And what you have is Petruchio beating, poleaxing, doing terrible, horrible things to this woman to beat her into submission. And when you see just that part of the play, it's like astonishing. And I asked if I could have his permission. I took him to dinner. He was in New York and I took him to dinner. And he was extremely pleasant over dinner, I must say. I mean, he didn't beat me or hit me or do anything. And he was very pleasant and very accommodating over dinner. And I had no money. I was working on off Broadway, 1984. You could imagine where that was. And I did have a small budget that we were able to get. The theater actually gave me a very small budget, but it would go to costumes and things like that, not and car fare for the actors. So I wanted to put on an evening of The Taming of the Shrew, the Shakespeare version, and his shorter version that was just the horror part. Just the misogynistic horror part. I wanted to do that as an evening because The Taming of the Shrew without all of the Christopher Sly opening and whatnot is not that long. And Marowitz's play was maybe 40 minutes. So it would make it a first act, second act kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a brilliant idea. It was, very pro-woman, very pro, take a look at what was really going on kind of thing, pull the curtain back. And Marowitz was very agreeable and said, yeah, I'll get in touch. And then he sent me a bill for how much he would charge me for the use of that play for 2 weeks. And it was, it was more than the budget of the entire theater for the whole season. So I just thought he got a dinner out of it. I got a cocktail hour story out of it,
Well, so
this is not cocktail hour, but
that's not so repulsive. The man wants to be paid whatever.
No. It's the content. No, it's the content of what he wrote. It's not. I don't mean that he was personally repulsive to me. I'm sorry if I did that impression. He was agreeable and pleasant. But I laid out the idea that this was, that if any money came in, he would get a share of it. I told him that, but nobody.
But he demanded upfront, like this is.
Yeah, he demanded, and you're right. As a playwright on the other side, of course he had the right to ask for money, but he seemed to be in sync with the concept of what I wanted to do, but he wasn't. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, he enjoyed dinner. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Was he flirting with you? Do you think?
No. I got no sense of that whatsoever.
Right, because he was apparently.
I used to know. I used to have a radar for that. No, I don't. I didn't get any sense of that.
Yeah, I have the radar that when people flirt with me, it has never once perked up. Never in my entire life since I was born have I had my flirt radar up. And
you and Ray Walston, yes, I remember.
By the way,
are your cousins coming?
No.
Oh, I wondered why we were able to chat. It's lovely.
They texted to say that somehow both of them are equally sick on the same morning.
I hope they're all right.
We're up all night studying, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to beat you, and
those cram sessions will do it to you. I had a bad stomach this week, 2 or 3 days. I was really concerned. I took off from everything. I didn't do anything. I slept and I ate, drank tea and ate oatmeal, and I'm okay.
Well, wait a minute, Leslie. it's still in the middle of a pandemic.
I know.
When you say you took off from everything, what the hell? What are you doing?
Well, I'm working with Charlie on this play for the Rochester Festival.
Oh,
We
yeah.
were going to work on our pilot for our podcast. You know, I had a person.
What's the
coming-
name of the podcast, by the way?
The
What is it?
podcast is called Critic Circle.
Critic Circle. Okay. And Charles's play, I can't even. The name is like how I
Oh,
found.
no. This is a new play. It's something that he has done, but he's doing it now officially under the aegis of the Rochester Fringe Festival. It's called, well, it may change slightly, but it's listed as Tales of Stockbridge.
Tales of Stockbridge. Oh, is that the one? Does he do Alice's Restaurant as part of it too? He actually did that on YouTube during the early days of the pandemic, right? Yeah.
Yes, but we've talked about it, and we're cutting it judiciously because I think doing all of Alice's Restaurant is kind of a bit much, especially
you
all
can
the
see
part
all the
about.
stuff we do that. We want to see Charlie do Charlie. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, and he has a story that leads into it. But the thing is that, I mean, all the stuff about the draft and I Want to Kill. I mean, there is no draft, and for anybody under the age of 40, maybe, I don't know. It's just it might as well be the Confederate Army, you know.
Although actually, I have to disagree with. There is a draft, and I'm just gonna get this window. Hold on.
Okay, get the flies too while you're at it.
That's better. That's just stop that draft from
Very good. Very good.
comedy.
So, are we gonna do this, or are we just gonna chat? I'm fine.
There's not going to be a contest per se anymore. This
You're just gonna ask questions and see if I know the answers.
Yeah, if you're up for that.
Is there nobody else over to your right that has? Is anybody writing in to do
Joyce
this?
doesn't really want to. She's not confident about her trivia.
Did I scare everybody away?
Well, you beat
What
everybody so handily last week. You ran away almost.
Okay, now I don't just want a trophy, I want a belt. I want
The answer is Lin-Manuel Noriega.
Yeah. And remember that no matter what Joyce, the question is, Joyce is going to answer
Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm with you, Joyce. It works for everything.
But I call him Noriega. I don't
She calls
care.
him Lin-Manuel Noriega. For no good reason, she hates him. I
do not know. Would you tell us the story off camera, Joyce, of why you hate him?
He and the Christine Jenner. What's the Jenner?
She also hates Kristen Chenoweth. No reason.
They
I've interviewed Kristen Chenoweth. She's one of the funniest people I've ever talked to.
She's a delight. I know, I think what you mean about overwatching her, maybe. I said recently on something with Charlie that I thought that perhaps Jane Kaczmarek's career stalled because of Kristen Chenoweth, because I thought maybe there was only one small, blonde, cute soprano who was allowed to be on at a time.
Wait, Jane Kaczmarek is not a small blonde. Jane
Yes,
Kaczmarek, she's like a Greek-looking, dark-haired woman.
She's a blonde these days. She's a blonde these days. Oh, no, you're not thinking of the right person. Maybe I'm talking about, maybe I'm wrong. It's the one who was in She Loves Me.
Oh, well, not Sally Mays. She was in the previous.
No, but just now she was the one who did the split.
Yeah.
She was on 60 Rock.
Yeah. Oh, no, not Jane. That's not her name. Jane Krakowski.
Krakowski. Sorry,
Yeah.
you're right. You're
Right.
right. I was wrong. The other one is a Greek-looking brunette. Jane Krakowski. Thank you.
This is what happens when theater people get together, right?
I know. And together we go. Who was the guy who was in the,
He didn't in Google times.
Okay, I'll go back to my original premise now that I've been corrected.
Who was
I
that
thought
Churchill
maybe
guy who took
Kristen
over Germany
Chenoweth.
for some years? Like,
I thought maybe Kristen Chenoweth's success kept Jane Krakowski at a lesser level.
oh, I see. Well, that's nobody's fault.
I wasn't saying it was a fault.
Yeah,
I was saying that if you step back from the whole thing, you
Right.
see that they started around the same time, and and Krakowski stayed in there. And I'm so happy she did, because she's turned out to have such a wonderful career in doing other things.
No, I always wonder if Kelly O'Hara stole Rebecca Luker's thunder, in a manner of speaking.
It's not a question of stealing. Rebecca Luker
Yes.
aged herself out early.
Well,
She started playing mothers. She in that Dance of Death, was that the name of it? Dance of
the
Death.
Vampire, Dance of the Vampires. Oh, no, she was in the other vampire, Dracula.
Death Takes a Holiday. Death
sorry.
Takes a Holiday. She played a mother much too early. It's like the old Broadway days, the old Hollywood days. Once they play a mother, they can't go back.
They can't go back to ingenue. Although I
Yeah,
played mothers and ingenues, I think equally well.
Say what?
I have played both mothers and ingenues.
Yes,
Well.
I think your mothers are particularly.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times I'm driving down the street and I accidentally go into the wrong lane and somebody calls me a mother. And so
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And gives you a number one sign. And gives you a number one sign with the wrong finger.
Yes,
Sure.
you are number one, you mother.
Right.
Yeah, they do
Right.
this.
That's it. Yeah, they go together. I know.
Ladies
So
and
are you just going to throw questions at me, and then when I don't know the answer, I get to look stupid? Is that how this is going to work?
I think you'll know some of these answers.
Okay, I like the way you say I think so. All right.
You're not going to go oh for everything.
How many questions have we got?
We got 11 questions because there were supposed to be 2 teams. Well,
Okay.
10 in the tiebreaker.
Please tell your cousins I hope they feel better soon. And are they okay? I mean, really, is it just?
I think their lack of sleep and so forth,
Okay.
and just not.
I've had days like that. It's
Oh, yeah.
easy to have that happen. You just get cabin fever too, you know.
And also, if you can try not to have diarrhea during the quiz, I appreciate that. You know?
I wondered if we were going to get through one thing where you don't mention that.
Never,
Okay.
never. All right. Well, you're the one who had the.
If that's your signature move, but you know, I'm happy it's not mine. That's all I can say.
There we go. The quiz is called Today, Yesterday for August 22nd, because today is August 22nd, 2000.
I should have looked up August 22nd. I didn't think.
Yeah,
to.
if you're prep, if you're.
I didn't look up anything. I watched Jeopardy a couple of times.
There you go.
Yeah, they got a bunch of kids on this week.
Oh, sorry, what?
They got a bunch of kids on this week. I don't know if they make the questions easier for them or not.
Yeah, I hate that. No, I want grown-ups playing Jeopardy. That's
Yeah.
what I want. All right, here we go.
See what it's going to look like. Go ahead.
Question number 1. We go all the way back to 1485. 1485. In the last battle of the War of the Roses, this English king was killed on Bosworth Field,
Richard III.
as depicted in Shakespeare's play about him. Name that monarch. Richard III it was.
And they found his skeleton maybe 15 years ago. They
In a parking lot, wasn't it?
PBS, they found it under a parking lot, I think.
Yeah.
Which had been Bosworth Field. They actually excavated, and they figured from the crooked back and whatnot that it had to have been Richard.
Yeah, it's interesting though when you read and the only thing I do read about these people is Wikipedia entries. He doesn't seem like that bad a guy. Like Shakespeare made.
They were all terrible people. They were all lopping off heads and chopping off arms and killing relatives. He happened to have a physical deformity, which I think made him more interesting to them. And because of that, I think Shakespeare made him much more evil than he may have been. So I think you're right.
I think the same thing's going to happen at the next Conway barbecue. It's going to the same exact thing. Well done. So we're not doing points, but this is last week was 2 points, so you're 2-0. Yay! Well done, Leslie. So, folks, now you've got to kind of really beat Leslie. Yeah. What I will ask you to do is wait like a second or 2 or 3 so that people can answer the question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
But
give me a signal. Give me a hand signal when I can say something, because I love jumping the gun. So you'll forgive me for that.
No. It's fine. It's fine. But hold off. If you think you
I
know
got
the
you.
answer,
I understand. Sorry.
Because when you got that Richard III, and you just strode in there with that big dick. My goodness, it was amazing.
You're right. It doesn't matter how quickly I answer. So I'm sorry about that.
1639 is the year. The place, Chennai, in southern India, which is of course known for being the city where my one-act play Blind Date was performed 3 years ago. I think everybody knows this. It was in the papers everywhere.
Is that true?
That is true. Blind Date was done in Chennai, India, and they did it marvelously. They turned it into a dance comedy. It was funny as hell. It was great. It's on I think my website somewhere. There's a link to it. So, or on YouTube.
Can you spell Chennai for me?
Chennnai.
Okay, not the way I thought it was spelled at all. All right.
In southern India, a major economic, tourist, and cultural hub, Chennai was actually founded back on August 22nd, 1639, by the British East India Company. Back then, and all the way up through 1996, the city had a different name, that of a light cotton fabric. Name that place. I think you got it in your head. I want to ask Joyce if you want to take a guess on that one. What was Chennai known
Look, it has
as.
on video.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can find, by the way, my play in
I will look for it. I had no idea there was such a thing.
Purple Rainbow Productions.
Purple Rainbow Productions out of Chennai, India. But Chennai wasn't always called Chennai.
Can I answer now?
Oh, I know what it was called.
All right, Joyce has it, but it's
Can I answer
Leslie's
now?
game. Go for it, Leslie. What was it called?
Muslin?
It was called Mumbai.
All right, so
I said muslin.
Leslie is saying muslin. Joyce is saying it was called Mumbai, but Mumbai became Bombay,
Oh, that's-
not Chennai.
I don't know.
So that is not correct, and I'm afraid, Leslie, you're 1 for 1 now,
Okay.
because the answer is or was a light cotton fabric called madras.
Ah, of course. Okay. I
Yeah,
always think of that as the patterned knee pant, Bermuda shorts. That's
Right.
the only thing I can think of Madras.
That's why my first one was Madras.
madras mahal. Yeah, but it was basically Chennai cooking, I guess, from that area of southern India, because that's right, it's southern vegetarian cooking. Yeah. Joyce isn't in the watch party. She's putting a link to my play so people can watch Blind Date.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Next question. Third question here. The year is 1902.
Oh, Fred, wait, Fred
Wait.
got it right.
Oh,
Got
Fred.
it?
Oh, Fred from Friendly
Yeah,
got it.
slow down because Fred got it. That's
Hello,
fine.
Fred.
Hey, Fred.
Fred got it.
Yay, Fred. So now you're playing against
Why are
Fred.
these people not on Zoom?
Well, no, I mean, I'm not going to start without
Why not?
without sending them a link and all of that. So, like, we could
Okay, all
hoping to have 3 teams.
I just like to see the other people. That's all.
Yeah, no, a lot of them are just texting in. We've been doing this for months with my cousins just texting in. And then they have the idea, hey, we can do this on Zoom too. I'm like, okay, why
Okay.
not? And so now we're doing it with Leslie Hoban Blake. 1902 is the year. After Henry Ford
This is
left,
my comment. It says it goes against me.
What? You might not be able to put a link to outside things on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
After Henry Ford left the Henry Ford Company, he went on to start the Ford Motor Company. But his old company changed its name and went on without him. They took their new name from the French founder of Detroit, Michigan. Name that company. Give it a second. So I'll read the question again for those of you playing at home, including Friendy.
Don't give me time to go through because I have to scroll.
Yeah. 1902 was the year Henry Ford left the Henry Ford Company, started Ford Motors, but his old company went on without him, taking their new name from the French founder of Detroit, Michigan. Name that company. So wait a sec, Leslie. Let's see if we get any of our, because honestly, Leslie, any of our viewers watching at home can play against you by typing in. I can't put everybody on Zoom, but we can see if they're typing in the message.
Now I feel like there are all these people out there typing against me. Wow.
Millions.
Wow. What a feeling.
People literally in Chennai are.
I guess,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Hey,
So-
you could have viewers in Chennai. Why not?
Why not? Well, we did when I was
Anyway,
there. We
okay.
did, yeah.
Okay.
So, do we have anybody asking to see friendlies trying to? No.
Yeah, but because they're not on screen, they can look things up too, which is not fair.
Well, it's a trust thing. I know. So, Leslie, I think you know the answer to this question.
My mind is giving me 2 French names. One or the other of them would be the name, I think. And one is Cadillac and one is Chevrolet. And those are the 2 that I have to figure out. The first one that came to me was Chevrolet. Tell me the name of the place again. Am I allowed to ask that?
You got an answer.
We have an answer. Hold on. We have another answer from
David.
we also have an answer here
And then we
from.
have another one. So,
Wow. All right, so we got answers here. What's yours again? Leslie?
I need to know. Need you to tell me the name of the city.
Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan. I'm going to go with Chevrolet.
Leslie says Chevrolet. We also had someone write in and say Buick,
and another person say
and another person said
That's an
LaSalle.
Indian name. Oh,
Yeah.
LaSalle. Of course, it would be LaSalle. Okay, it would be LaSalle.
No, it's not. It's Cadillac. You almost had
Oh,
it.
I picked the wrong one of my own 2.
Oh well. And I wouldn't get any of these. Believe me, I would have just been like. It's easy for me to read them, but it's okay, Leslie. You've got 2 points so far. Cadillac. Cadillac. All right, we're on to question number 4 in our Today Yesterday quiz featuring Leslie Hoban Blake. 1914. It probably should not come as a surprise to anyone that Germans in World War I were almost as horrible as they were in World War II. One demonstration of this was their mass execution of civilians in such towns as Ames, Dinant, and Aarschot. These places were in what country? So think about it for a moment.
Say it again and repeat it for the people on the, go slower on the.
So in 1914, probably shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that Germans in World War I were terrible. One demonstration is that they would do mass executions of civilians in a lot of towns, one of which happened today. The towns included Amiens, Dinant, and Aarschot. These are places in what
Hold up your question.
country? Hold up my question.
Question mark.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
We have to give people time. They're percolating, you know.
Our prop. This was designed by Leslie Hoban Blake's company back in the 1980s. They spent their entire budget for 2 years making this.
I thought it might be from Eva, but no, it's not. Okay. It's fine.
Yeah, this is why you couldn't do the Marowitz play. You blew the budget on this.
Yes,
Don't do
that's it.
So do we have any answers from the gallery while Leslie is holding on to her thoughts? Oh, yeah, the problem is Joyce has to keep reloading the Facebook page.
It's okay. I'm holding my answer. I'm not sure of your pronunciation is the problem.
I'm holding my answer too, which is why I have this and I don't have pants. But you know,
Yes.
no answers. Oh, we've stumped the panel on this one. Which
Will you spell the middle name for me that you said? Did not spell it. D-E-N-A-N-T-E.
D-I-N-A-N-T. I may be mispronouncing it.
Ah.
Or Dinant. And Aarschot. A-A-R-S-C-H-O-T.
Okay, you know, I'm very glad I asked you because those are different from what I thought. And what was the first one?
First one was, and I'll spell it, T-A-M-I-N-E-S. Nobody's chiming in.
My immediate thought was France, but those are not French names. And
More people are joining.
pardon me?
Oh, Joyce just said more people are joining to watch the quiz.
Well, because it took them that long to look it up.
No, they're not answering. They're just watching. What?
We have a librarian joined.
Oh, a librarian just joined. Okay, here we go.
Hold on. I'm right
That's
here.
not my answer. That's just my thought.
We got Belgium.
Someone said Belgium. Who? First name of the person who said that?
Brandy.
Cindy?
Brandy.
I think that.
Well, you
Oh, Flanders Field, of course. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow amid the crosses row on row. Yeah, I guess Belgium is where they speak Flemish.
Well, if they have a lot of phlegm in their throat, that's what they do.
Is Flanders the country? Or Flanders was just Flanders? Flanders.
Flanders.
Where do the Flemish people come from? It could be Belgium. I don't know the answer to that. I know the poem. I don't know the answer.
So do you want to,
It's definitely not France, which was my first impulse, which is not my answer. And you've already told me Belgium, so I can't, I can't weigh in.
I'm going to give you 1 point on this one because here's the deal.
Because I knew the poem.
Peter Anthonyson, my old friend from Romania, he lives in that country. It was Belgium. These are the places, and it was known back then as part of what they call the rape of Belgium.
Oh, absolutely.
Germany just absolutely was.
Absolutely. Razed to the ground, yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't think of it.
I just think Germany could have bought Belgium dinner first. You know what I'm saying? Maybe sent flowers after. I
just watched a Cary Grant, Ginger Rogers movie about Nazis taking over. And by the way, my mother said it started with the Visigoths. It wasn't even the Goths. It started back with the Visigoths, and then they were the Goths. And she said Germany was doing this, from
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, the Goths,
Rape and pillage was their middle name.
the Goths set the limelight. in
And
New York.
now they're the economic leader of Germany. So it
Oh.
pays off. If you know how to play the long game, it pays off, right?
Indeed. So what pays off so far is that you have 3 points
Wow.
in our game.
And what do other people have?
Well, I don't know. I think Friendly has 4.
Fred has, I think, 1. Fred got.
Oh.
No, Fred got he got Madras
He got Madras, and he got Freddie got Madras, and Freddie got
because I trust them. They're not cheating, and they got Belgium too.
I like the way you say that. I'm going to get like your cousin. I'm going to suddenly get very competitive.
Oh,
I was very laid back last week. I haven't been competitive, but now if you tell me there are people out there,
Well, this is a sport. This is
I know.
This is serious. This is important
Yes,
stuff.
I know.
We move onward in our trivia quiz to 1915. All right. Lifelong pacifist and conscientious objector David Dellinger was born today. Along with Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, and other hippies, he was put on trial for conspiracy and inciting to riot. The group of them were given what nickname? Okay. So let the other
David,
people.
I think it's the Jackson 5.
Joyce is saying the Jackson 5. Not quite, not quite.
Was it,
Oh, I love that. No wonder you guys are together. Now I understand it. I never understood it. Now I understand.
oh, was it the Osmonds?
Well, with Michael Jackson, it would have been kind of, the rape of
No,
Belgium.
but it has a numerical coefficient, so that's why it has to be.
I'll read the sentence again so that people have a chance at home.
You gotta give him a little time.
Born today was pacifist and conscientious objector David Dellinger. He, Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, and don't say it. Don't say it. I will give Leslie the chance because she's really the quiz person.
She's
So
the reigning champion. Like
she
in
is.
Jeopardy. She's the days gone by.
Well, she's not feeling very champion-like, so just go ahead.
Well, you may with this. When other hippies were put on trial for conspiracy and inciting to riot, the group of them were given what nickname? So, Leslie, if you want, because we have an answer from the gallery.
I know
what's-
the number. The number is 8. I'm not sure if it's Chicago. I'm going to go. In fact, what's his name? Bobby Seale was part of that group. Bobby Seale was
right.
the one that they put tape on his mouth.
Yep.
But I'm not sure what to. It came to my mind and then it went out just as fast. I'll say the Chicago 8. I think that's wrong. I think but it's the something 8.
So Leslie is saying the Chicago 8.
Friendly said Chicago.
Friendly says the
wait, wait.
Chicago 5.
Fred said Chicago, and Bill said Chicago 5.
Oh.
Bill and Friendly are like.
Oh, good. Well, Chicago was right then. Okay.
Chicago was in fact right. And
Oh wait, Fred said Chicago 7.
here's the deal.
Chicago 10.
Both 8 and 7 are correct because what happens is they started with 8, and when Bobby Seale was taken out, they were
Right.
better known as the Chicago 7. But either Chicago 8 or Chicago 7 was correct. So Leslie, you got well, Fred said Chicago, so he gets
No,
1
Fred
point.
said Chicago 7.
Oh, he did say 7. I'm sorry.
And
Well, then he gets full credit.
Chicago 5.
But I'm going to give Leslie 1 extra point if you can remember the name of the judge in that trial. Just the last name. This is a toughie.
Markowitz.
It's not Markowitz.
Judy, Judge Judy, Judge Judy.
No, but you're
Guys. It's like I'm on the tee, and I got to,
This is just a question.
Ball.
This is an extra point. Who was the judge?
It was Judge Wapner. Judge Wapner.
Right. Judge Ito was the judge on the glove trial, so I know that that's not him.
No, it wasn't Ito.
I'm going to do a very big. What?
He's sometimes Mozart, but he's often Bach. That's a joke there. No,
I realize that. And
He's
I'm not going to
often
say. I'm not going to say Judge Opera or Judge Music. I'm not going to do that. I honestly can't remember.
It was Lin-Manuel Noriega.
It wasn't
Lin-Manuel Miranda. Absolutely.
Christine Chenoweth is old enough.
Oh, no, it was Offenbach wrote the tales of
Hoffman. Yes. Okay.
Judge Julius Hoffman. That was the
But I wouldn't have. No, that was not in my brain at all.
anyway, but you picked up.
Thank you for the offer. Thank you for the offer.
Yeah. Here we go. Trivia quiz continues.
You have to bring me up to date. What's the score now?
Oh, I don't even. I think you got either 4 or I'm not even. I should be keeping score, shouldn't I?
I think Fred got 3. I said winner for your.
Well, we gave you Belgium, and you got Richard the Third right off the bat. You got the Chicago
Yeah, but I think
6.
Bill should get an E for effort because nobody fails in the post-millennial world. So.
Oh, that's true. Everybody gets a trophy. Everyone wins the quiz.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Joyce.
But you've got 6 points. You're already doing. You're back to like 50-50.
I'm not even kidding. Leslie should go on Jeopardy because she can make a ton of money.
Yeah, you do pretty.
Oh no, you know, the thing is, I actually passed the Jeopardy test about 5 or 6 times, but I never passed the interpersonal, whatever the hell. I don't know what. I feel like B. Arthur and the Golden Girls. Do you remember B. Arthur and the Golden Girls on Jeopardy?
Yeah.
She got to be on Jeopardy and everybody hated her because she did what I would do. She would answer at length and ad hominem, you know, she would have stories. And so I think that's the problem. I think they sort of got the idea that it would be very hard for me to just give an answer and not do anything else.
You didn't just take the test at home. You physically went to like the studio.
I went to twice. I went to, and I was teaching at the time. I had to say I was sick so I could get on a bus and go down to Atlantic City, which is where they were doing it on the East Coast. And the bus gave you 25, a roll of quarters. So I would go and gamble the roll of quarters while I was waiting for the return bus, which didn't leave until 7 at night. They were so clever. They would take you down at 1 in the afternoon and they'd make you wait until 7. And, you know, so I'd have a bite to eat and I'd read a book. I mean, there was nothing else to do for me. But no, I went down, I did the whole thing. Very competitive group. Out of a whole group, you know, a room full of people, literally in the days when you could have a room full of people, out of a room full of people, they might keep one, they might keep nobody. So it was extremely, I don't know if it's that hard now. I don't know. Maybe. I also did The Millionaire.
I didn't know that.
I mean, again, I passed and I didn't get put on, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, because for every 200 people who show up, you know, there's only one show a day. There's only.
Well, there's something, but it's a personality thing. Once you get, I mean, I don't know what the personality they're looking for is. This is the personality I have. So they either want it or they don't, you know.
Is there any wonder that our mutual friend Jeff Goodman got onto The Price is Right?
No, but I was on To Tell the Truth. Did I ever send you the?
No.
Oh God! Oh, I was a cute young thing. I'll send you the pictures. In 1966, and I won enough money to buy for my own first apartment an air conditioner. I won $166.
Well, that's not bad back then. I mean, that buys.
Well, look, I'll send it to you. You can watch it if you want to hear the story. I'll send you.
Where's someone to watch? Well, let me watch it, and when you're back next time to play the trivia quiz, we can talk about
fine.
it.
Okay.
If you don't mind, is it on YouTube? Can everybody
watch it? It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, we can also share it.
You may share. You have my permission to share it.
Leslie Hoban, like back in 1966, playing.
On the quiz as an amateur, she's a professional.
You know, that's right. You lose your amateur status now. I didn't realize you have been on a professional.
That's not a quiz show. There were no questions.
Wait, what? What show? To Tell the Truth?
To tell the truth is you have to lie about who you are.
Yeah.
So they guess somebody else. They're not asking.
It's more acting.
Yeah.
It was acting. Yes, thank you. It was acting. It was a sheet of paper with possible subjects within the frame of reference, and you got it the day of. You didn't get it earlier than that, and so you had an hour to look at it, and you'll see what the joke was if you watch it. There's always a reason that somebody is the other person.
Huh.
They either have something in the same field or their name or whatever. You'll see. You'll watch it.
It's been. I wasn't a longtime viewer of. I maybe saw 1 or 2 episodes.
I was desperate for money. I would have gone. You know, I mean, anything legal. I was desperate for anything.
A cute young thing desperate for money has other options.
Yes. Well, there were no sugar daddies in those days. I don't know whether I would have qualified, but you'll see that. You'll look at it. You'll see.
Wow. Well, because you know that's the thing. We never really. We'll do this one day, not today, but I don't think we ever actually interviewed you on this show. You've been an expert in theater, being on our Tony broadcast.
I go back so far, the dark ages. You know, there you go.
You know, but I don't think we've ever really talked about your life as a director. Yeah,
We both have multitudes.
we contain multitudes, as Bob Dylan would say.
Well, but you know, then we should turn around and interview you at the same time.
Anytime. Yeah,
I want to watch your play in Sinai. That's what I want to watch.
Please do. I think they did a wonderful
Shanae,
job.
not Sinai. Shanae. I'll get it right.
Madras.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, that's where it played. It played in Lin-Manuel Miranda.
1950. Our next, we've only done 5 questions so far. Then we're gonna be here till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I don't mind because I'm having a blast. 1950 is the year. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, Joyce is volunteering to go get my diaper, which is about time. Notice she made the reference
She
to
did.
King Boo,
She
not
did.
me.
She did. I see how well suited. Go ahead.
And besides, this is a quiz show, and it fits with the diaper theme because you're in the money. You're in the money. Oh, I'm sorry. 1950 is the year she became the first Black player to be invited to the U.S. Tennis Nationals, now called the U.S. Open. She lost her first match, but by 1957, she was named Female Athlete of the Year by the Associated Press, an honor they gave her again in 1958. Named this winner of Wimbledon, the French Open, and the U.S. Open, who also played pro golf. Right, so think about that.
I just tell me when.
Not yet. I want to give people a chance.
I'm trying to be good here.
It's a difficult one. This was back in 1950. The first Black player, she became the first Black player invited to the U.S. Tennis Nationals, now called the U.S. Open. By the mid-50s, she was on the circuit, named Female Athlete of the Year, won Wimbledon, the French Open, the U.S. Open, and also became a professional golfer. Although she did not have the success in golf, certainly, that she had in tennis. So Joyce is going to look at, see if anybody decided to.
Yeah,
Is someone typing Lin-Manuel Miranda?
No, it's not Lin-Manuel.
It is not Lin-Manuel Miranda, apparently. That is not the answer to the question.
Is it Linda Manuel Miranda?
It's not Linda Manuel. No, it's not. Nor was it Bobby Seale.
But his real name is Noriega.
Can I do it now, please?
Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac. Well, let's give it 3. I'll give you a 3-second count. Plus, I have to hold this up. I forgot to do that. Very important. So, do we have an answer there? If not, I'm going to let Leslie answer this question about the first
Check one more time.
Black player invited to the U.S. Tennis. Now, Joyce is reloading the page. I'm going to give a countdown. Hold on. She's going to check Facebook to see if anybody has taken a stab at the answer to this question
Check both yours and mine to check.
on our today,
But the
yesterday
number
trivia.
since then,
Oh, you know, I'm not even looking at my Facebook page. I'm not checking.
Yeah, I'm checking mine and I don't see. So you gotta see.
Let me reload mine.
You gotta check yours too, honey. People are posting other places.
And forgive me for not checking my own
Yeah,
Facebook page because I keep looking at my Zoom feed.
I know it's crazy. This
Let's
one was
see.
a hard one, David.
That's what she said. Here we go. No, I'm not. I'm not seeing a lot of people.
I'm gonna throw. No,
check.
they're not. I'm gonna
No.
put you.
So Leslie,
Are we
I
there yet?
to you, who was the first Black player invited to the U.S. Tennis Nationals?
Althea Gibson.
Leslie says Althea Gibson. Give that woman a Gibson guitar. You are absolutely right. Althea Gibson, it was. Well done. So you have 8
No, she was
now.
amazing. My God, she was.
Now, here's the deal, Leslie. Do you want to keep those 8 points or would you rather trade them for the chicken behind door number 2?
I didn't get to meet the chicken the last time. Hello, chicken. Does he have a name? Is it a he or she?
I thought aren't all chickens she's unless they're roosters?
Well, no, that's a hen. It's a hen and a rooster.
Oh.
Chicken is the generic.
No, it
Hen is the female. What do we got?
I was saying her name is Lin-Manuel Noriega. Well,
Okay, got it. Okay.
Sorry, they're both part of a hen party.
Oh.
There we go.
God.
Yeah. Oh my God, why do I do this? Here we go. Next question.
I'm going to bring props next time.
Yes.
I'm gonna have props. I don't know what, but you've seen that up there. That's you can't even get that. I'm gonna bring my teddy bears next time. I have my ragtime teddy bear sitting within. Wait, I'm leaving for a
I
second.
have my potato.
Hang on.
I don't know what a ragtime teddy bear
If I
is.
can just grab this. Hello. Okay. Do you remember this?
Show me. Oh.
Do you remember this from ragtime?
Yeah, why were they giving those out? Because Teddy Roosevelt was in the show, right? Or something like that. Why?
Yeah. Well, no, they gave it out when Garth Stravinsky. It was a fight between Ragtime and Lion King. They opened across the street from each other. You remember this? You were
Yeah.
in those days. Okay. So Garth Stravinsky, who wound up going to jail, wanted to make a big. He was Canadian. He wanted to make a big splash in New York. So he wined and dined us there was at the opening of the show in that theater right across the street from where the Lion King still is.
Okay.
That became, what the hell is the name of that theater now?
The Ford.
The one
There
up
was a Ford
The
Center?
one right off the corner on 42nd Street, right off Broadway,
Not the New Victory. Well, the roundabout is there.
next to the New Victory, further east of the New Victory. What is that one called?
Oh, let me check Performing Arts Insider.
Yes, see, now that if that was not a segue, did I
Yeah.
not give you?
It's not the Ambassador or the American Airlines, or well, that's on 42nd. It's not August Wilson. That's 10 blocks away. Let me find
42nd Street. They
Okay.
played. Look up where Ragtime played.
Now I can't quite do in this issue.
Oh, it doesn't matter. The point of the story. We're going to lose the point of the story. So
Yeah.
Garth Drabinsky was trying to make this big splash.
The
with this
Lyric.
new- What?
Lyric theater. The Lyric.
The Lyric. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the name of it at all. It just went right out of my head. Anyhow, thank you. Thank you.
Performing Arts Insider.
Yes.
Learn the name. God damn it. Learn the name.
Lin-Manuel Noriega.
Theatrical Miranda. Anyway, so they wined and dined us. It was a stand-up buffet kind of thing, but it was really impeccable food. And can food be impeccable? It was really delicious food. And
Actually,
and then,
wait. If you have a chicken and it can't eat its pellets, I guess they're impeccable.
impeccable. Oh, no, those are impeccable. Anyway,
Yeah.
so he gave out things, and I used to have a teddy bear collection that was like 3 feet wide and 6 feet high. No, 6 feet wide and 3 feet high. Just teddy bear upon teddy bear upon teddy bear. When I moved, we gave it to the children's hospital. We had them all cleaned and gave them to the children's hospital, except for a couple. And so this is Ragtime, and this bear plays. Where the hell is? Oh, there we go. I don't know. Where's my speaker so you can hear it? Can you hear anything?
I hear the tinkling. I don't know if it's playing Wheels of a Dream or something else,
Music
but
is hard on Zoom.
what,
Ambient music.
ambient music is very
It's
difficult.
playing that opening number from Ragtime. That wonderful.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can't hear. Anyway, this has been with me forever and will be with me forever.
Oh, I know. I think I had.
Now this is
I got
my
one of
prop.
the
Now
fingers.
this prop. He's going to be in all the rest of it with me. He's my
Yeah.
prop and my good luck charm. So there you go. Okay.
But honestly, you mentioned I never got Wine and Dine in '69 by Garth Drabinsky, but I did. I was there. I was one of the journalists that he allowed in when he gave us a tour of when
Right.
the theater was being reconstructed. And we all had hard hats.
Oh,
on.
oh,
We
I didn't
walked
get
around
that.
the premises. It was cool. Yeah.
No, I did not get that. And he's still around. He's trying to do something.
Is he in prison or just?
No, he's
somewhere-
out of prison. He was, I think, involved in some show that was coming in this year or next year. I read this somewhere. It's very vague. I'll look it up for
It's
sure.
probably Rebecca. No, just kidding. That's a very
Exactly,
insightful
yes,
joke
right.
there.
That's
All right,
a
let's go
Garth
back to-
Drabinsky joke that only 5 people and 2 of them are in Canada will get.
All right, here we go.
Fred's ready.
Okay, we got our crowd. They're grumbling for more questions. All right, so
I'm so sorry. Please tell the crowd I'm very sorry.
no, it's my fault too.
The queen says let them eat cake. It's okay.
But the cake is apparently impeccable. All right, 1986 is the year.
Do you know what time it is? It's noon.
It's almost noon. I know. I'm having I mean, I could go doing this till 4 o'clock, and I will. 1986 is the year. Oh, cuter than potato?
That teddy bear is, I think.
Cuter than this?
I
I gotta get to know him better. He's cute.
Thank you.
He's really cute.
Thank
Is he going with anybody? Is he married? What's his story?
Oh, well, no, he has a son already.
Oh, all right, there you go.
Yeah.
I have a son also. Well, that doesn't stop anything. Go ahead.
But he is dating.
He is dating. He's
He is
called
dating, okay.
Yeah.
No, that was my son and daughter-in-law had that on top of their wedding cake. They had a Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head on their.
Hey,
on
are
their
you? None of my business, but are you dating anybody, Leslie? Are you?
Twins.
not for a long time. No, thank you for asking.
Oh, I'm just wondering because these guys.
However, if there's anybody who wants a smart ass, I'm available. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, you know what? Every part of you is smart, Leslie, not just
Aw.
that. So here we go.
Dave, I come. Listen, I come not just to answer the questions. I come for the compliments. It's
Oh, well, absolutely. Yeah, I gave you such a compliment last week, and then it turned out to be a backhanded one. I'm like, oh, goddamn.
I know.
No.
You're not
Told you about my
smart.
flirt button.
You're not
Yeah.
smart.
Here we go. 1986 is the, yeah, we're doing the middle of doing a quiz in case people have forgotten. 1986 is the year, August 22nd, the day that this movie was released, featuring River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, and speaking of rapes, Jerry O'Connell, all co-starring in this film based on a Stephen King novel. What was the name of this movie? Don't say it. Don't say it. And we'll wait for our viewers to watch, to chime in.
Hold up your question.
In our today, oh, I need the question mark, of course.
And we need to do the drum roll too.
Yeah. And it's not a Spanish film, but I'm just, for our Spanish viewers, they might appreciate this. I'll read the question again, though, for everybody. River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, and Jerry O'Connell co-star in this movie based on a Stephen King novel. And I will give a hint. I will give a hint if we don't have any answers yet from anybody.
Hold on.
So we're going to check that, and then I'll give a hint because it looks like you could use one. This is, sometimes I do give a hint. I'm
Oh,
cool.
we got an answer.
Don't say it. Don't say it. And that is the correct answer.
Okay.
So someone has chimed in with it,
Fred.
but I'm
Go
going to give
Fred.
you a hint,
Go
Leslie.
Fred.
The hint is it was directed by Rob Reiner. Wow, this is the first moment of silence in 3 hours right there.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, David. That was not a compliment. Thank you.
I just made Fred the winner.
Am I allowed to ask if it's had a sequel since, if it's been remade?
You can ask. I'm not sure I can answer because I don't know. It may
Okay.
have been. But
No, you would
I
know. You would know. If it's what I was thinking, you would know. I'm down the wrong rabbit hole here.
Or the wrong bear hole. This is
Did I-
a bear.
Okay, am I allowed to talk?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Please do answer. Yeah.
My initial thing was going to be It, because there was an original It movie.
Oh,
That's why I was asking. But the three guys you're talking about were in a movie that I didn't think had anything to do with Stephen King. So I'm confused.
that is
Really
confusing because it's not the kind of thing Stephen King usually does, even though he's written tons and tons of things in different genres.
Hamilton.
It's not his, and it's not Hamilton. It's not the Lin-Manuel Miranda story. It's a
There was
very
movie
popular
there was a
song.
movie about a bunch of kids who found a body by the
Oh,
river.
Helene got it too. Helene got it.
Helene from my library?
Yeah, Helene got it.
Yay.
We asked her for her library superpowers.
Well, I gotta get an answer from
You have to get an answer. Go ahead. I can't. I forget.
Dum, 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 dum. When the night, dun, dun,
Yes.
da, 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 da. I don't know the lyrics. Da, 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 da,
Yeah,
da.
Stand By Me. It's
Thank you.
Stand By Me.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I would not have. I knew that. But I didn't realize that River Phoenix was in it. I knew that Jerry O'Connell was in it.
Oh, yeah. And,
My mind just wouldn't go there. But thank you for the hint and the clue, and all of it. Thank you, everybody.
and also in the film were Will Wheaton and Kiefer Sutherland. He was the bad guy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I never thought that was Stephen King.
Yeah, it was based on a novella.
I didn't. It was such a not Stephen. Well, I guess it was. It was it with a river. Yeah. Okay.
There you go. All right, next question. We're up to our 8th question in our Today Yesterday quiz, and we move up to 1 year later. 1987 is the year. Madonna and Griffin Dunn star in this screwball comedy film, whose title is also the title of her new single, which hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 today, back in 1987. And I will give a hint if you need one, but not yet.
Yes, please.
So, but year was 1987, not a hit movie, but the title was a hit song for Madonna, who co-starred with Griffin Dunn in this screwball comedy film.
I know what it is.
It was on the Billboard Hot 100.
No?
No.
Oh.
Remember, it's also the title of a song, of a hit Madonna song. Do we have anybody?
We got nothing yet. I
Oh.
can't look at all of them.
This is a tough one. I wouldn't have remembered this
Yeah,
off the top of my head.
there
Oh,
either.
and I got it. Bill's got it. Reference.
No.
No.
And our viewers are chiming in and they're not getting it right.
We got some answers that are not right. Oh,
Is there, you said there was a clue, David.
We do have one correct answer on this, so I'm going to
Okay,
give
you
you.
said there was a clue.
Here comes the clue. The song has Spanish musical influences, kind of like her previous single, La Isla Bonita.
I believe the name Girl is in the title. I believe it had a female director whose first name was Susan. I can get all of that if I'm on the right track. I know the movie. I cannot come up with the title.
Well, you're one
it's
third of the way
it's not Who's That Girl? It's not Follow That Girl, but it's something like that. And she was a Madonna type, and this very straight-laced guy ran after her all through the streets of New York, and I can't come up with the name of the.
Oh.
No, I can't. So,
I'm still going to give you.
am I right that Girl is in the title?
Yeah, I was going to give you like a quarter point. You're like a third of the way. Well, what is it? 30%.
This makes me crazy because I used to be a film critic, and I hitting myself for not knowing that one, and now I don't know this one.
Well, you're getting 0.75 of a point for this one.
Thank you so much. You're throwing the old lady a bone. Thank you.
You got one of the three words in the title right. If you would only commit to it. Leslie, you had it. I'm going to give it to you. It was Who's That Girl? You said it. It was Who's That Girl.
Well, all right.
That was the name of the movie and the song.
I actually interviewed that writer.
Yeah.
We had a lovely lunch. I used to have a column called lunch with ... And I took her to lunch, and I can't remember her last name either.
Susan Seidelman, right?
Seidelman, right?
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Right. Very, very. She never really had a big career after that. I wondered what happened. She's done some television.
Well, that film was a flop. She had done Desperately Seeking Susan.
That was what was confusing me, was Desperately Seeking Susan.
Right.
That's what was confusing me.
So Who's That Girl was the correct answer of the.
Okay, well, I had it and I threw it away. Okay.
So that was a film that didn't do well, and then Madonna's movie career kind of.
Yes, and then it was followed by the one with her then husband, Sean Penn, which was even worse. So.
Was it Shanghai Surprise? Was that one?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that was the one.
Yeah, that was surprising.
She can't sing and she can't act.
1 year later, 1 year later,
Oh, help me.
1988, for our next question, at 1:30 in the morning, NBC debuted a new talk show called Later. Who hosted?
NBC.
NBC, this is at 1:30 in the morning, 1988.
Some people think that Leslie's teddy bear is like Siri. It's giving answers.
There are viewers of this program who think that your teddy bear has like a Siri in it or an Alexa.
He's whispering me the answers, but they're not right.
No, that's it. I mean, it's got the brains of Winnie the Pooh. It's not going to get the right answers, for God's sakes. Oh.
I thought I was paranoid. I thought,
So do we have
well,
any?
that's right. Hide in plain sight. If I let you see it, then you won't think I'm doing
Say
anything.
what it is. Say what it is.
All right, I'll say the question one more time. 1988 is the year. 1:30 a.m. NBC debuted a new talk show called Later. Who was the host? So let's see if anybody, because I think Leslie has an answer that she wants to give. So hold off, Les, for one more moment. Joyce is reloading the page, which is how we found out if anybody else has. And I should actually again check my, see if anybody's doing on mine, but I don't. Oh, I'm seeing some of them now.
You should see Helene is on yours.
Yeah, Helene is on mine, but I'm not getting something from this
I think it's
answer.
quiet,
Yeah. All right, I'm going to let Leslie answer the question. Who was it?
Was it your namesake, David Letterman?
Was it David Letterman? Joyce, we have any?
It
Or
was
do you want
Cheetah Rivera.
to take an answer? No, it's not.
Isn't she Lin-Manuel Miranda's mother?
Patty LaPone.
Patty Miranda. No.
Patty LaPone.
Carmen Manuel.
Carmen Miranda, right. Carmen Miranda was his aunt.
Liza
Not
Minnelli.
Liza Minnelli. What was all these theater divas? What's up with that? And the answer, Leslie, is no. No, Leslie. David Letterman was on from 12:30 to what?
Was Jay Leno? Was it Jay Leno then?
No, Leno was
Johnny Carson.
wasn't Carson.
Arsenio
No, it wasn't Carson. I know it
It
wasn't
was,
Carson.
it was it was like Charlie Rose. It was just like a half hour of conversation with somebody.
Oh,
Graham, not Graham Norton. What's that guy? He's like Australian.
No, but I think I know who you're talking. But no. And remember, we're going back to 1988, and probably also known.
I go back to 1988. It's not coming to me. It's
Greekish name.
well,
No.
Zach Galifianakis was not working in those days.
Mhm.
A Greekish
No,
name?
Daverhood goes way back. No, the answer is Bob Costas.
Oh, I don't think I ever watched it.
And in fact,
Honest to
he
goodness.
stayed.
Was it
until
mostly
1980.
a sports program?
No. It was just a chat.
Really, I never watched it.
And then Greg Kinnear took over for a few years. So
Okay, I watched something with Greg Kinnear, but I never watched Bob Costas.
well, he doesn't like you either. So there you go.
No, it wasn't I didn't like him. It just I don't know.
It was 1:30 in the friggin' morning. Also,
I was teaching. Maybe I wasn't getting up in those days. You know. I mean, maybe I wasn't going to bed that late in those days. I don't remember.
So all right. So I can't give you any points on that.
No, I'm not doing well this week at all.
Well,
I'm gonna have to hang my head in shame and hug
Yeah.
my teddy bear.
Let's see how you do. We have two more questions.
What's the score so far, David? Just give me some incentive here.
You currently have 8.75 points.
And what's
Not
the,
bad.
against what?
Oh, I don't know. There were 9 questions, so it would have been 18 points.
No, I mean other people. What's
Oh,
it's,
no. I'm not counting for other people.
It's 2 and 3. They're 2s and 3s.
We have some
you
two-
have to.
Yeah.
It's a contest. There's no contest. What's the point?
We're just answering questions for fun.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Sure.
beating your point spread, I think you got 11 or 12 points last week. Try and beat last week's point spread, which
Thank
means
you.
we're at 8.75 now.
Thanks, coach. Thanks, coach. I'll get in there and I'll get him this time.
So you have to do pretty well on these next 2.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
No pressure here.
Now, we mentioned Madonna before, right? So we moved now to 2004. Madonna, the painting, was stolen from a museum in Oslo today, as was another more famous work by the same emotionally fragile Norwegian artist.
Give me a second. I need
Name it.
Name the painting or the artist or
The
both.
painting. If you know one, you probably know the other. So
Do I get points if I can name them both?
I'll give you 3 total if you name them both. But don't say them yet. Let's
I
give
won't.
them a chance to,
I want to redeem myself.
I'll read the question again. 2004 was the year. Madonna, a painting called Madonna, was stolen from a museum in Oslo today, as was another more famous work by the same emotionally fragile Norwegian artist. Can you name that painting? And you, if you want to, you can also name the artist. I will throw in an extra point, which will put you in 19. If you get it, you'll be right where you were last week, and then you can get.
See, that's my incentive. I need that. I need to be
Yeah.
incentivized here.
So, Joyce, I'm going to check the other screen for one moment. Oh God, my body. Oh, I haven't stood up in like 3 hours. Let's do this again.
So how are you? I'm fine. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. Anything happening? No, it's this damn pandemic. I know there's no place to go, nothing to do.
I'm going to check my own.
I'm sorry, we
my
were
own-
talking. Okay. We were having a conversation. Okay, we're
Oh,
done.
don't let me interrupt you.
No,
Let me
no,
see
it's fine. It was just, just to kill time.
Well, we have the word, David, and we have something.
what we have.
The screen.
You haven't heard
Um,
from me yet. Can I do it? Oh, I have to wait until everybody's in. Okay.
So, Leslie, can you answer?
We have 2 people saying it.
Well, we do have 2 answers from the crowd. So, what do you say, Leslie?
I believe it was Edvard Munch's The Scream.
It was indeed Edvard Munch's The Scream. As I get older and I lose definition of my face, I actually look like the woman.
I know. Not just you, sweetheart. Not just you.
All right. You are now at, let's see, 11.75 points. If you get the tiebreaker, what was supposed to be the tiebreaker? If you
You
get
can
this
take
one,
back the 0.75. It was very sweet of you, but I'm
All
not,
right.
I'm not ready for the.
You look like Macaulay Culkin.
then you are at, Joyce says I look like Macaulay Culkin. It's like, no, I think I look a lot closer to Monk. Okay. Or I look like that mask in the movie Scream.
I love the emoji. That emoji gets used all the time now during the pandemic. That emoji is one of the ones that, It's like,
Yeah.
how are you today? And you throw that in, Right, exactly.
All right, we're ready for our last question of our today.
For our
Yes,
close-up? Am I ready for my close-up?
It's only almost tomorrow, so we might as well get through that. Here, you can, if you want to close up, just get
No, I don't. I know. Yes, I know. There we go. Okay, there's my
waiting
close-up.
for my close up. Lefkowitz. Here we go. 1862. We're going back in time.
Jesus, we went from 1980. You were going sequentially. Now,
Yeah.
way to throw it, girl.
Tiebreaker,
Okay,
I
go
just
ahead.
go back to 1862. Deal
Go
with it.
ahead. I
Born
just have to
today.
rewind all the brain work. Rewind. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't have normally done this question. but-
1862. Let's go. 1862.
Born today in Paris, is this composer, sometimes called the first Impressionist composer, and author of such works as La Mer, Clair de Lune, and Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun. Can you name him? I'm sure you can. So just give it a moment. I'll read it again, and then we will end our Today Yesterday quiz. Born today in Paris, August 22nd, 1862. Was sometimes called the first Impressionist composer, author of such works as La Mer, Clair de Lune, and Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun.
Was it the guy who wrote Shake Your Ass?
It was not the guy who wrote Shake Ya Ass, the classic
Oh, wait,
rap.
we have somebody.
All right, hold on. We have one answer
Is
from
that right?
Joyce's.
Did I say it?
You said it, but it's not the right answer.
Don't say it because I haven't weighed in yet. I know the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have one right answer and one wrong answer from the gallery. Leslie,
Tell me when I can go.
question of the day. Can you tell us who this composer is? Leslie Mike.
Yes, Claude Debussy.
Yes. It was indeed.
Some of them I know. Some of them there's no question.
You
My bear
clowned
helped me.
your
We
way
had
to
a
the top.
discussion.
Yeah.
Well, my bear and I had a discussion, and he
Well-
told me
well
that was
done.
the answer.
Yeah. So it was indeed Debussy wrote Clair de Lune and La Mer.
It was
Hey,
my father's favorite composer. He would listen to Debussy for hours.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Did
Yeah,
you
I-
like him too, or were you like?
I like him well enough. After a while, he became so commercialized. Some of those songs became so. I mean,
Oh,
Bobby
yeah.
Darin's the Sea. That whole song was based on Debussy. La Mer was the basis of the Bobby Darin song.
This I did not know. Yeah, I'm not that.
Ta-da, somewhere beyond the sea is the tune of La Mer.
Oh, I did not know that.
It's for
Yes.
you tell us,
Even in the Kevin Spacey version from the movie.
Right. I never saw it. You're the
Kevin
only person who
Spacey
saw
and-
that movie. Yeah.
Kevin Spacey at the age of like 38 went back and tried to play 18-year-old Bobby Darin. I
Darin,
found that
yeah.
hysterical.
I think he was older than 38. I think he was in his 40s by the time.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
being kind. I couldn't remember how the hell old he was, but it was just, and he was very good. I'd say he sang and he danced. He was very good, but he wasn't, he was too old.
A kid. It wasn't. Yeah. No, they can't. Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
Leslie Hoban Blake, you have
me and my
13
bear.
points.
Wow, thank you. Me and my bear, thank you very much. We thank you. I enjoy this enormously, I have to tell you.
Good.
It's a,
Me too.
I generally ride the bike in the morning with Charlie. So this gives me a reason to get on the bike on a Saturday, which I wouldn't do otherwise.
So are you, when you were working on Charlie's new play, Tales of Stockbridge, are you together or is he? on
No,
his
we're doing
own?
exactly what you're doing with me now. I watch him, I make notes,
Yeah.
and then, I'm directing. That's what a director
Yeah.
does. I don't have to be in the room to do it. I directed him anyway.
Yeah.
It's also a question of script. I'm also dramaturging it. I mean, I'm helping him decide what to leave out because as I say, I think the Alice's Restaurant is just too much. It's just too much of that.
Well, when he did the piece on Zoom, I guess that was just a Vorspeise, an appetizer.
But he did that before he knew about the Rochester Fringe Festival.
Oh, so that
In
was
fact,
a small.
I don't know whether he knew about it. I don't know. I sent it to him. One of us found it. I may have sent it to him. I'm not even sure. And they accepted in the same way that they accepted him at the Solo Festival, which is what I suggested he do, So obviously his writing is strong enough, regardless. But this was, he just sent in what he put on YouTube. I think that's why he put it up on YouTube. I'm not sure which came first.
Is the Rochester, is it a real in-person thing? Are they virtual?
No, it's a virtual. So we're gonna tape it and send the best. It's in September. I'll tell you the date. I'll give you the date and then people can watch it. the whole festival. I mean, I don't know. Are you watching any of these virtual things that are
I
out there?
stop. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy.
The
I
one
just-
that I keep up with all the
Yeah.
time is the 24-hour plays. I find them fascinating.
Hmm.
I did that series on the Staten Island Ferry. I brought that to Staten Island, and we created it together. And I worked out there for a couple of years, and we did it on the ferry, on the trip back and forth on the ferry. I started on the A train plays. We got on the A train at the beginning of the, and we rode back and forth. And in fact, I got in touch with the guy who started it and said, "May I take this idea?" Which is an idea, you know, and he stole it from the 24-hour plays. He just put it on a train, and someone came to me and said, "Could you do that on the ferry?" I said, "Sure, why not? It's so simple." And so I said to him, "Is it okay with you?" He said, "Sure." And then a year later, he said, "I was going to put it on the ferry. You stole it." And I said, "You know, I didn't steal anything. Larry, I asked you. I was absolutely upfront. So yeah, I hate people who do that, but it's just a wonderful idea. And it's so, I don't know how they do it on Zoom. I mean, we at least got together and there was an energy, and then we'd all go away and we'd write, and and then the actors would learn their stuff, and then the directors would come in, and it was fascinating. So I love the 24-hour virtual, and some of the best playwrights are doing these little 10-minute monologues. They're all monologues. They're seriously monologues. I just resurrected 4 monologues that I wrote back in the 90s, and unfortunately they're still pertinent today. One is called NIMBY. That one that got published was called NIMBY, Not in My Neighborhood, and we're right back to that again. And one was about a cop who was suicidal. Duh.
We're back to that again.
One was about a guy who,
homicidal. Right? I'm just kidding.
one was about a homeless guy who'd been cleaned out of a park where they had, from under a bridge rather, where they had built a little community, you know, where they had built cardboard.
Well, that's relevant.
So I can't believe that stuff is all relevant. You got to go. I know you got to go. We'll talk again. Do you want to do this again next week?
Well, absolutely. Now, I'm hoping the Shubas will be back. We're also trying to maybe get my friend from high school. I'm trying to get him on the show to
Can
do
you
it.
get somebody else on another picture? Because I feel I'm very, you know, self-conscious about just me doing this.
No, it's been fabulous. It's been great. And
well, I'm so grateful that you appreciate that that you like me. You like me. You really like
me. And Chicken likes you too.
Well, Bear likes chicken, so there you are.
Oh,
Bear doesn't have a name either. Bear doesn't have a name either.
So Leslie Hoban.
I would call him Tata from the play. I'd call him Tata.
Tata was the Jewish character in Ragtime. He's the guy who starts.
He's the father.
With the silhouettes.
He's the Mandy Patinkin character, the father.
Right. Yeah. Oh! You said the Mandy name. Mandy's like a curse word in this show.
You can say Lin-Manuel Miranda, but you can't say Mandy.
Joyce
Okay,
hates
sorry.
Lin-Manuel Miranda. I have a grudge against Mandy. Yeah, he's the Voldemort of the show.
I have many grudges against the man. He's been a pain in a lot of people's side and other parts of the body.
He's basically.
But you cannot deny his talent.
No, I do not deny his talent.
That's all I'm talking about.
No, I know, but you said the M word.
I won't say it again.
The MP word.
Unless I get very mad at you, I won't say it again.
Then you can call me Mandy. That's if you get mad and I say something that offends you.
It's your trigger.
That's my trigger word. It's like,
how does that whole thing go? You can call me Mandy, but you doesn't call me Miranda.
Well, actually, it's not me. I don't have a grudge against Mandy, but Rabbi Saul Solomon does.
Oh,
so that's the Rabbi Saul.
He has a grudge.
No.
As Joyce says,
excuse me for saying so, but 2 old Jews together, that I can see that. That'd be a grudge fight to watch.
Oh, it sure would. Ladies and gentlemen, Leslie Hoban Blake in the Daverhood. Thank you, Leslie. God willing, we'll see you next week. Stay well.
Absolutely. How do I leave? Is there a place?
Oh, I can leave you. So thanks so much.
Okay, bye.
I gotta do this thing.
Still here.
And see you soon.
Okay.
Leslie Hoban Blake in the Daverhood playing the Today Yesterday trivia game. Having a blast here doing the show. We're not going to do most of what was supposed to be on the show today, but we had such fabulous time. I mean, Irving Wardle.
Do you need me to help you with anything?
Well, I think we're going to table Greeley Crimes Old Times until next week.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Do you need me to help you get dressed?
I'm not. I don't know if I even have time to do. You know what? Let's leave. You know what? Why don't you hang with me for like 10 more minutes? We'll do Greeley Crimes. We'll table Rabbi Saul until next week, and then I just have a Colorado Limerick of the Damned to do as well. So, let's do it because they've been keeping this column going in the Greeley Tribune
If you
newspaper.
don't do it, they're gonna cancel the call.
That's right. We have to acknowledge that the Greeley Tribune is doing cop log and 100 years ago, and we do that by doing this little segment every week, and it is called Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Oh, thank you, Bill. Thank you so much for all the folks who are playing along. And I know it's 20 after 12. The show, this program should have been over at noon because we go 9 to noon every Saturday. But sometimes, if the spirit is with us and the creeks don't rise, we keep it going. And so Dave's gone by. We'll probably be here till close to 1 o'clock today, Eastern time, doing more fun, including our Greeley Crimes and Old Time segment.
Just tell people my computer's dying, so I can't see their comments.
We don't need,
Is that
yeah,
okay?
it's cool. I need you to just
Come over there.
do the noises and the fun
Okay.
of
I
Greeley
just-
Crimes
I
and Old
can't read
Times.
because I can't access
Yeah.
my, okay.
So,
Okay.
Greeley Crimes, what happens is in the Greeley Tribune newspaper, once a week. Oh, and I forgot to hold this up. Thank you, Joyce. Greeley, there it is. Beautiful Greeley, Colorado, home of the JBS meat plant, home of the unplaceable smell. But actually, I really like the place. I really love living there. So Greeley is pretty neat. And the columns in the paper include 100 years ago, where our friend Mike Peters goes through the newspapers back in 1920 and looks at the most interesting, unusual, nostalgic, funny things that were printed in the paper, plus cop log, which are phone calls that come into the Greeley Police Department for people who are noticing unusual activity of a potentially criminal nature. Here we go. Let us begin with a crime, shall we? A caller on 20th Avenue reported that a man walked up to the caller's wife and asked her to let him inside to show him her breasts. Well done. And you know what? If that works like 1 out of every 20 times, why not, right? So yeah, good for him. I mean, let's face it, Hollywood can make a movie with like Demi Moore
You know
and
what
what's
the
his name,
guy's name
Robert
was?
Redford.
What's the guy, the Me Too guy?
Oh, Jeffrey Weinstein or
Yeah,
no.
yeah, the other one, the one who was
Harvey
Yeah,
Weinstein.
yeah,
Yeah. No, but like there was that movie where Robert Redford offered the guy $1 million to sleep with
Oh,
Demi
yeah.
Moore. This is a guy who's like, can I touch your wife's boobs? Can I look at them? And in fact, I'll give you $1. That's real life, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, speaking of life, a caller reported a couple of people. Understand this now. Here's the issue I have with this piece. A caller reported that a couple of people were on a boat north of 10th Street and 80th Avenue. This is particularly interesting to me because there's no water.
Maybe they were on a boat on the land.
Colorado is fairly
It's
landlocked
dried up.
as it
Well,
is.
there's like Lake Loveland.
Or did they just put like in the Target parking lot? Did they get into a boat? Like Loveland, all right, Loveland does have a. I don't know. Maybe there's water there, but I'm not remembering like a.
But that's something I
a
never
ravine.
understood. When I used to go to Pennsylvania, my godfather said this was a man-made lake, and I'm like, isn't that just a pool?
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
a caller at East 22nd Street wanted to know whether or not he could have cake at a park. Remember, he's calling the police to ask this question. Could he have cake in the park? Oddly enough, chocolate cake, no problem. Ice cream cake only on alternate Tuesdays and Thursdays. And strawberry shortcake not within 100 yards of school. So that was the answer that came back to him. And now let's move on to some old times in Greeley, Colorado, from the Greeley Tribune Republican, as the newspaper was called back then. Oh my goodness.
Hold on, get your xylophone. Wait a minute.
No, I've got my xylophone. I need this. It's a potato alert. Potato alert. which simply means that we have a story about potato. An advertisement in the Greeley Tribune Republican
That's a lot of energy.
back in 1920 went like this: needed 10,000 people to buy new spuds at 820 3rd Street, free delivery. They need, look at that potato, back in the day, back 100 years ago, they needed people to come and buy you, and they would even deliver potatoes for free. This is exciting to him. He's delighted by this. Yeah.
You know what he says?
What's that?
Or is it purple?
Oh yeah. Oh, we have to also give congratulations. Oh, I think we did this last week.
Right.
The guy who struck oil on his land. and told him- I did that
was
one. I'm
last
sorry.
week. You
Okay.
saved some because we didn't get through because you ran over last week too.
But here's something. A bar selling illegal booze in Frederick, and boy, wasn't Frederick upset about that, was closed by the sheriff's office this week. Deputies confiscated 6 1-pint bottles and a half-gallon jug of whiskey. The whiskey is a Colorado product called White Mule. Do you know why they call it White Mule?
Because it's from urine, from the mule, urine from the mule.
No, it's not from mule urine.
It
No,
makes you blind.
it might, but it doesn't turn you into an ass. Why do they call it White Mule?
It makes you go up a mountain.
Oh, it's pretty good. No, it just carries a huge kick.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
clever.
Yeah.
It's like absinthe where I
Yeah.
knew people who did moonshining. I knew moonshiners.
They wouldn't have needed to be moonshiners,
No, I
but
knew moonshiners in Pennsylvania. I knew a lot of moonshiners.
just people made their own. It was legal. You could do it. Why would it be illegal? I guess
don't
we
think
produce
people
too
make
much
their
of it.
own Jibberjam.
And also, they don't have the FDC,
FDA.
or I'm sorry, the FDA checking it to make sure it's not poisoning stuff you're
Yeah,
giving
you
it to
could
other
kill
people.
They would say if you drink moonshine, you go blind.
Well, if it has the wrong kind of alcohol, yeah, no. You grow hair on your hands, that's a different,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I've been a moonshiner for many a year. Spent all my money on whiskey and beer, which makes no, actually, that old Irish song makes no sense.
Yeah,
Just occurred to me.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've been a moonshiner for many a year. I've spent all my money on whiskey and beer. If you're an alcoholic,
No, a moonshiner is someone who makes their own. That makes their
Yeah.
own.
then you should, maybe you spent all your money on hops and on
equipment,
grain
yeah.
and flavoring, but no, you should not have spent all your money on whiskey. You should have made money on whiskey and beer.
It's not literal.
I guess not. This is disturbing me. And I can't go back and ask the Clancy brothers because they're all dead. This upsets me now.
Were they in Chicago 8?
Hey, you know, a Tribune Republican newsboy was delivering a paper to the First National Bank when he saw a mouse peeking from a hole in the wall. He grabbed the mouse and caught him by the tail. However, check this out. What do you think happened?
The mouse bit him and gave him the plague.
Nope, mouse did not bite him.
Your
What did the
tail
mouse
came
do?
off.
Yes,
Yeah, it happened.
the mouse struggled so hard, broke off his tail, and escaped. The newsboy put the tail in his pocket and continued on his paper route.
God. And that's how we got the plague.
Well, at least he had a tail to share with people. You know, oh, who wouldn't like a nice piece of tail? Yeah, oh, rats. But is that true? Do their tails grow back, or do they just have a
Not
stubby
a
tail?
starfish. They're stubby.
What? But they can live. There's no blood. There's no whatever. Just
No,
boom.
I guess they have some injury, but hopefully they could live. It's better to lose your tail than lose your life.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true.
That was one of the songs that Lin-Manuel Miranda cut out of his musical.
He cut out of Hamilton. No, that was from In the Heights, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
It is better to lose your tail than to lose your life. It is better to have a husband than a wife. Anyway, don't even know where I'm going with this. Police responded. This is modern times, by the way, to the Stampede area. Well, yeah, if there's a stampede, police should respond to that. For a report of a suspicious package. It was a backpack filled with snacks and an Xbox controller.
There you go.
That sounds suspicious. Lee like fun. Yeah. Another couple of days, they would have been called to the scene of a backpack with old spare ribs in it.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't get on to the whole.
Me too.
We
Me
got
too.
this. We got this.
Another Greeley crime. Police responded to a man sitting on top of a car in a fast food drive-through on 8th Avenue. The man remained on the car as the driver turned south on 8th Avenue. It was like, well, you know what we call someone who, pardon me. What we call someone who sits on the hood of a car. Oh, I blew the joke.
What?
What do you call a man who sits on the top of a car?
A hoodlum.
Yeah, a hoodlum. I blew the joke.
You blew it, baby.
Well, 3.5 hours into a show, the lips start doing stuff that the brain isn't even telling them to do.
I just can't read the names over there.
Oh, I can run over. Hold on. Oh. Let's see. My butt. Welcome to Kelly. Oh, that's old. That's one of those things.
People join back.
Do I just hit reload?
I don't know.
Let me reload. What the? Talk amongst yourselves.
It's okay. You can go back.
Yeah. Let me.
I like this outfit, David. You look handsome.
Why, thank you. Joyce, my wife says I look handsome. Thank you very much. Let's do another couple of these in this segment, Greeley Crimes Old Times, and thank you for the whistle. Police arrested a man, a 25-year-old man, accused of breaking into someone's home on 14th Avenue and...
8th?
No, 14th.
And 14th.
And what did he do?
Oh, he showed them the key.
No.
He broke out.
He got out, but what did he do while he was in the house?
Doo-doo or pee-pee?
No, something cleaner than that.
Oh,
He may have.
He cleaned the house?
No, that'd be great, but
What?
no. He took a shower.
Oh, that's good.
The caller called 911 to tell cops the man in the shower was not family.
Oh, God.
Shortly thereafter, 25-year-old Austin Ray walked out the front door. First, he told police it was his house, even though he was wearing jeans belonging to the victim's son and his hair was still wet. And he was also eating an apple he took out of the victim's refrigerator. Ray was booked at Weld County Jail for second-degree burglary.
How did he get in?
Window,
Oh, okay.
criminal trespass, and surprise, drug possession. He also has warrants out from Boulder.
Oh, can I tell you?
Yeah.
So I have to share this story.
Please.
One of my oldest and dearest friends, called Mihal. So we're talking about just dorms the other day. We're reminiscing.
Yeah.
So she lived next to the kitchen, which is the shittiest room because everybody's in the kitchen making noise. You get all the mice, you get all the bugs, right?
Yeah.
So, but there was a guy who lived a floor above her who was like completely stoned and high on drugs. And he would always get off on the elevator and try to get into her door because he knew
Thinking it was his.
They put him near the kitchen so we could find his room. The problem was he thought Nihal's floor was his floor. And she would call me and say, yeah, he's knocking on the door. Yeah, call the RA. Yeah. And I think we heard the story that one time people got so mad at him, they held him outside of the dorm by his ankle.
They dangled him?
We don't know. But could you
Wow.
imagine? Yeah.
At least he didn't take a shower in the hallway.
Well, you know what? He would have, but it would have been the wrong floor. And we had a peeper. We used to shower together because we had peepers.
I beg your pardon?
No,
Wait, tell me more about the
not
showering together thing.
but like my friend Terry and I used to go to the shower at the same time, and we were in there and we got peeped.
By how?
They would come into there were girls and boys showers, right, at that time.
Yeah.
Male and female, and or gendered, men and women. And then we used to go to the shower, and somebody came in and they tried to like look over the
like a Porky's kind of thing. They catch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to be quiet about it. If I were taller, it would have
You
been.
couldn't have reached.
So one part of me would have reached. I'll tell you
My
that.
friend Terry was tall and beautiful. You couldn't have reached her.
Oh, who's that? Who's Terry?
She's gorgeous. She was gorgeous.
Whatever happened to this person? Don't use last name. I mean, but
I don't know.
you never get curious and never.
I don't even remember anything.
Well, I've never heard this. I've married you for 23 years.
You
We've
never
known
heard
each other.
Vaughn, you never heard all the Grace, all of my dorm friends?
No.
Yeah, of course not.
Certainly not the tall, beautiful ones.
Yeah, well.
Oh man. See, should have stayed more in that shower. Anyway, let's finish up Greeley Crimes and Old Times here on Dave's Gone By. Here's an old one. 4 men have been arrested on grand larceny charges. They went into the new Raymer Ford garage last Thursday, and they grabbed a Michelin auto tire and then ran from the business. They took a tire. They were later arrested in Grover. Grover's now in the hospital being ministered to by Big Bird. Each now has a bail bond of $500. See,
That's a lot for back then.
I know, but what Polish criminals is that? Let's no, don't need a cash register.
Maybe they needed a tire for their
How do you even carry that out? It's like you have to carry like pallbearers. It's like, I'll get the right side of the tire. You get the left. You hold it from the center. All right, walk. What the hell?
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. Anyway, oh my gosh. Let's. Ladies and gentlemen, before we had a potato alert that was very, very exciting. But what is also really exciting is that in Greeley Crimes Old Times, when we can say that we have, what just fell?
My timer for my heating pad timer.
You know why you got excited?
Why?
Because we have a Lupton alert.
Lupton. Alert.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a Lupton alert. This has to do with when something happens in Fort Lupton. I do love saying the name, Fort Lupton. I say it as often as I can. Lupton. Say it with me. Lupton. Lupton. What a Lupton. 2 Fort Lupton high school students have tested positive for COVID-19, prompting a 2-week shutdown of the high school just days into the new school year. In a Facebook post, the school said the student who tested positive was in, this is magnificent. This is the kind of thing I was talking about before in the school district that I'm working in, where they had the staffer test positive for COVID 2 weeks before school starts. In Fort Lupton, okay, you got a 2-week shutdown of the high school. Why? Here's what happened. The school said the student tested positive was in the blue cohort at the high school. So all 294 students in that cohort are being dismissed for 2 weeks. Also, a student in the white cohort tested positive. The white cohort, which has 210 students, is the only other cohort in the school. So the whole school is now shut down through September 7th. Are you listening, Governor Cuomo? So they went through all this procedure, all this trouble of dividing the school into 2 cohorts. And then they've had to shut both cohorts down because each one had someone with COVID. You think this is going to happen all over New York? You think this is going to happen all over America? Anyway, that was our unfortunate Fort Lupton alert here on Dave's Gone By. Let's do one more. I'm mad. I got the madness in me. A caller on 13th Street wanted to report a stolen speaker. Could have been Tip O'Neill.
Stolen streaker?
Speaker,
Oh.
a speaker. He then asked whether his other stolen items had been recovered. And then, smart man, he said he needed advice on how to keep his things from getting stolen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Greeley Crimes and Old Times here on Dave's Gone By.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi-yi-yi, yippee, yippee, yippee.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're well into the 3rd hour of Dave's Gone By Live on this Saturday, August 22nd, 2020, the Wardle We Do. episode of the show, our 760th, because Irving Wardle was such a marvelous guest talking to us about theater. Remember a couple of things. First of all, if you missed that interview, just like Leslie didn't get a chance to see it this morning, remember that you can scroll back on Facebook after the show is over and watch this week's show, last week's show. If it keeps scrolling back, since we've been on Facebook the past 3 years, you can watch all of these episodes. However, let's say you want to go back even further. You can go to our website, davesgoneby.com, DAVESGONEBY, davesgoneby.com, because that is where we have the archives going back to our very first one. For our first 14, 15 years, we were audio only. We were a radio show. We've got the audio there, including a whole separate archives of all the interviews that we've done. It's all there for free, davesgoneby.com. You can also find our archives at archive.org on the Dave's Gone. Just look for Dave's Gone By shows and interviews. We've got them there. We also post all our audio at castbox.fm. Castbox.fm. So that's a particularly good one to go to if you're a podcast person and you don't need the visual. You just want to hear the show when you're out and about. Castbox. Right, on your telephone, on your device, on your toaster oven. You can.
No, toaster oven you can't.
You can't listen on your.
No.
I think you're right. The toaster oven only does the video. Yeah.
For some reason, I'm hungry for rice now.
Mm.
I don't know why.
Anyway. So there you have it. And also you can find nearly all of our stuff on YouTube as well. So if you're looking for old Dave's Gone By, if you're looking for other amazing guests that we've had in the past, in the 18 years almost that we have been on the air in one form or another, those are the places to look, because we've had a ton of theater critics on the show, like Leslie Blake, like Charlie Gross, like Isa Douglas, like Simon Saltzman, like trying to do this off the top of my head, but lots of really smart, talented, and that's just the theater critics, like Irving Wardle, who was in our program and is now a friend of the program.
Oh my God.
Huh? Great guest or what? So
Yeah, the audience loved it. People loved it.
we're going to keep tabs on Irving Wardle. We're going to see if he's working on this
Why don't you
improv
have
stuff.
Peter on too. Have Peter, your friend Peter.
Peter Felicia, he's been on the show.
No, the critic from Belgium, Dutch Belgium.
Peter, yeah, great idea. So we keep tabs on the people who've been on the program in the past, and we call this segment Friends of the Daverhood. So yeah, it's kind of just saying, hey, they were great to be on this program, and when they were doing this, now they're doing that. For example, I want to remind you that a couple of weeks ago, we had one of our best guests ever, Willie Nile, was on the show, and it's time. Just this week, the album has come out, Willie Nile Uncovered. It's a 2-disc set of other artists doing Willie Nile's songs. And some of those artists are other people who've been on the show, including John Gorka, Dan Byrne, and Graham Parker. So get yourself a copy of Willie Nile Uncovered. Oh, speaking of records, I want to remind you that also just released the new album by Sylvie Simmons called Blue on Blue, available from Compass Records. Sylvie Simmons, a rock journalist for many, many years, but also really pursuing her musical career now. The new album is called Blue on Blue. And again, speaking of music, Tony Trischka has done a redo of a song that he performed on an album by Steve Martin back in the 1980s. Steve Martin, of course, the comedian, the actor, also something of a banjo aficionado and musician himself. He co-wrote that Broadway show with Edie Brickell. So yeah, a music guy too. Tony Trischka's been on one of his albums, at least one of his albums. And so Tony Trischka has a song that I didn't write down the name of the song, that was stupid. But if you go to Tony Trischka's Facebook page, you can watch him do a new version of that song that was on the Steve Martin album. And Trischka is Trischka. Want to remind you that this is the last day, I think, to catch Love Noel, Songs and Letters of Noel Coward, which is being performed by K.T. Sullivan and our friend Steve
Noel or
Ross.
Howard? You said
He's
Noel.
he's got the umlaut over the E. I think it's Noel. Yeah. Actually, if it had Noel, it would be Noah.
Honey,
I'm sorry.
focus, focus, you're losing it.
I'm sorry. I'm being rather cowardly here.
I think the potatoes and chickens want to go at it.
IrishRep.org. No, I don't have the energy for a chicken potato fight. What? What? Who's asking? I'll cut you. All right, stop it. Stop it. Whoa, IrishRep.org for Love Noel, songs and letters of Noel Coward. And by the way, yes, once again, tonight, Jorma Kaukonen. Oh, you do it. Oh, I'll do it. We are the Spuds. Don't hit the sun. Oh, that's so nice. Potato's helping chicken eat the ice pop. That's so. Oh, thank you, Potato.
Give me chicken 1 second.
Here. Oh, hold on. There's a problem. There we go.
Choke hazard. Here.
Here. Oh, see. Oh, thank you, Potato. That is so nice. Now shake. Put the knife down.
Give Potato the ice cream.
Oh, Potato gets ice cream because they're sharing.
He's
All right,
lactose
here you go.
intolerant, he told me.
Oh, yeah. It turns out I don't have a tongue. That can be problematic. Plus, this will get all over
Oh
your
no,
fur.
look.
Oh, no, everybody's getting into the. Everybody
No.
wants into the.
He wants chicken to use this on chicken.
That's not nice, Potato.
Yes, yeah.
Look what Potato's holding. Oh, Potato. Look what he's got here. That's really evil. That's not. Hey. Chicken is saying, of course, this means war. All right, go to neutral corners.
You have to get like a fight theme when you do it.
Wow, I'm afraid to play anything because of copyright. But let's. Oh, is it? Oh, it's going to be ultimate fighting. All right, go to it, chicken. Wait, what are you going to do? Whoa! Hey, don't do that. All right. Oh, I'm going to pile drive you. What am I, 2? I didn't even do this when I was 2 years old. I'm regressing to the point now. Oh my God. We're doing Friends of the Daverhood, by the way. We're among them are Jorma Kaukonen, formerly of Jefferson Airplane.
People accepted our invitation to join us.
Oh, that's excellent. That's great. Welcome everybody to watching the Dave's Gone By show. He is doing a solo concert again at his Fur Peace Ranch. You can watch it for free on YouTube tonight at 8. Jorma Kaukonen, Kaukonen. Get them wherever Jorma Kaukonens are sold. I want to remind you, we mentioned this critic before, Isa Goldberg. She is acting too. She is appearing in some one-act plays on YouTube now through September 27th. You can find them at 68 Cent Crew. That's the theater company, 68 Cent Crew Theater. Find their channel on YouTube. Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano, they're doing duets. They post like one every day from the Great American Songbook, so watch out for that. Julie Holston is doing Virtual Holston on Fridays on YouTube, and then they're on her channel to watch whenever. Evan Seplow is the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com. Dr. Demento, you can go to his website, drdemento.com. SoundsOfBroadway.com is Stuart Brown's theater music-related website. And Bob Cudmore doing podcasts of upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. And we also, of course, mentioned Seth Rudetsky. He and his husband, James Wesley, have been essentially keeping theater going single-handedly since the pandemic, because they're the hosts of that Stars in the House thing, where they're doing readings and performances and interviews, and they're grouping together folks who were in shows 30 years ago and reminiscing about it. It's all as part of Stars in the House. Just look for Seth Rudetsky online. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. All right.
Really good show, honey.
Well, thank you, sweetie. Yeah, it's been a great show so far. Joyce said people are still joining because they think it's already next week's
They think
show.
it's next week. They're like, is there a new quiz this week? I'm like, no, that's next week.
And that's already the 20, whatever it'll be, 29th or something. But before we go,
Yes,
but
it will be the 29th, honey.
it will be the 29th. Next Saturday, we'll have another show for you. We'll have another Today, Yesterday trivia quiz. Maybe we'll have a special guest. Maybe we won't. You just have to tune in to find out and check our Facebook page and our davesgoneby.com page to find out as well. But before we let you go today, we didn't do a wretched pun of destiny. We didn't get to Rabbi Saul. He's real angry. He's off in the green room fuming. Literally, I'm being fumigated because the green room's covered with ants.
He doesn't like it.
Yeah, he's certainly not going in the chartreuse room. This bothers him. But what we are still going to do today, unfortunately, is our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, because I write a poem and share one every week about some town or city or municipality in Colorado where Joyce and I used to live. And these are limericks. They're short, and they tend to be a little bit just plain wrong. Our Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain, Colorado,
Yes, we're getting Rocky Mountain High here every week with our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. And today we go to Ames, Colorado. And it's not like there's actually a community college there called Ames, A-I-M-S. This is different. This is a place called A-M-E-S. Ames, Colorado is an unincorporated community in San Miguel County in southwestern Colorado. Best known for being, in 1890, the first AC current generating plant. It was built by Westinghouse. So all the gold and silver miners, suddenly they were able to get electricity. They were able to get AC current. And amazingly enough, that AC electricity generating plant is still in operation today. 130 years later. So pretty cool, pretty cool. However, what is not cool, what is horrible and terrible are the poems that I write as Colorado Limericks of the Damned. So today, this week's poem for this August 22nd, 2020 is our Colorado Limerick for the town of Ames. A vicious young psycho from Ames keeps lists of the poor victims' names. The girls who are dead, he highlights in red and circles the ones he just maims. That is our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I know. Usually they're just disgustingly sexual. This one was pure evil. I know. Send your complaints to davesgoneby@aol.com. davesgoneby@aol.com for all your letters, complaints, and compliments, and suggestions and thoughts. Love to hear from you all week long. You can also, of course, message me or post your messages on our Facebook page all week long. The Facebook page is Dave's Gone By. The email davesgoneby@aol.com. The Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2, Radio Dave and the number 2. The potato is potato. Oh, there's just some bad blood there, I'm telling you. What else do I need to tell you? I need to thank.
Next week.
I don't know if we have a guest next week, but certainly this week's guest, we have to thank Irving Wardle.
Oh, Leslie too.
Right, thank you so much. I'm sorry, but Irving, I wish I could say I could plug some, where he's writing for now, but he's doing his thing.
You should get his book. His book is great.
It's worth $930 on it. You can find cheaper copies actually on Amazon, but it's theater criticism. He wrote a book many years ago about the process of being a theater critic, and he is and was a major one. So thank you to 91-year-old Irving Wardle for being such a fabulous guest on Dave's Gone By this morning. Remember, you can watch that or share it with people if they missed it by bringing them to davesgoneby.com. And thank you also again, most especially to Leslie Hoban Blake for playing the game with us, for being such a delightful game player and with anecdotes too.
I think Leslie should have her own show.
Leslie's great. Leslie
Leslie should have
really
the
should do a
Leslie
podcast
show.
of stuff.
It should
Yeah,
be called Leslie Show.
The Leslie Show. Hoban in
No,
Berlin.
it should be LHB.
LHB. Yeah,
LHB.
that's it. That's a
We
go
should
with
do
the initials.
hashtag LHB, right?
That'd be cool. So thank you, Leslie, and thank you to Irving, and thank you to my darling and adorable and wonderful wife, Joyce, for helping me out with the show, for in spirit as well as in the physical stuff of
It's
having
very
to
hard
deal with
because there's
Facebook.
so many things running.
Yeah, because she's dealing with a watch party and guests and
And I have to
putting
end
up
the watch
stuff.
Party, otherwise it goes on forever.
Yeah, but thank you, Joyce. Thank you, everyone who
And
tuned
thanks
in.
to all the guests who played the show with Leslie. 'cause she's
Yeah.
a tough competitor.
Thank you to my stage manager, Bill. Thank you to Friendly. Thank you to everybody who just tuned in.
Helene and Bill played.
Oh, Helene, of course, my from the library where I have been working up until a week ago. Yeah, thank you to so many folks who every week make it fun for me to come on here and do this nonsense for 3 and sometimes 4 hours here in the Daverhood. Just remains for me to say that keep your contact tracing going, because as soon as one of you gets it, we're all going to empty out. Stay healthy. Stay well. Enjoy this beginning of the tail end of the summer. Oh, no, particularly don't have a tail. This is not a tail, it's a tag.
It's the mouse who lost his tail.
Yeah. What? Oh, no, don't. Oh, chicken.
He's mean.
Potato is going to get revenge next week. I can see it. And meanwhile, this is what happens. This is how gang culture starts. Potato, our baby potato, is watching all this, being influenced by it.
No, he's not violent.
He's going to want revenge.
No, he won't. He's not violent. Uh-oh.
I want butter. May I have butter, please?
He wants the chicken to drink this.
Oh, that's
Yes,
easy. This
yes.
is what's happening. It is good for you, chicken. It's like water. See, it's clear.
No, chicken, no,
Chicken, don't do it. No.
Chicken, too soon.
I think it's time to end this, don't you? Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the 760th episode. Yes, 760th episode of Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. Thank you so much for tuning in. Check our website, check our Facebook page, and you'll know what we're doing next Saturday, 9 to noon, or thereabouts, for the 761st episode of Dave's Gone By. Have a great week and gone by!
Gone by. Days gone by. Days gone by. Days gone by.